solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in the case now on trial will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, sir. Have a seat, Mr. Banks.
Give the jury your name, please, sir.
My name is Michael Allen Mays.
By whom are you employed?
I work for the Knox County Emergency Communications District 911.
Can you tell us what your duties are with 911 Center?
I'm the custodian of records.
And as part of your duties, have you been asked to bring certain 911 calls that you're responsible for?
Yes, sir.
And probably covered 4 different dates, is that correct?
There was 4 different instances.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, 4 different instances, I apologize. And tell the jury how 911 calls are generated and preserved.
Any calls that come into the 911 center, whether they're 911 or non-emergency, all those are recorded into a server.
And how are records developed and maintained? What type of records are developed and maintained?
We have written reports also. We call them CAD reports. CAD stands for Computer Aided Dispatch. It's our computer system that when a call comes into the call processor, they take that information and put it in the computer, and it's sent over to dispatch to be dispatched out to the officer at any time during that. Anything that's put into the computer by a dispatcher, a unit in the field, or a call processor, that can be pulled out into a report at any time.
And that is a written report?
Yes, sir.
And does it contain summaries or sometimes actual words spoken during the
Yes,
phone
it
call?
does.
On that road?
Okay.
What's the mark exhibit 1? Ask if you recognize that document.
Yes, sir. This is one of our CAD reports.
And does that have a date and time for an event?
Yes, it's December 17, 2015.
And is that CAD report then, or associated 911 calls go with that event, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So we really make this document with 1.
Any objection?
No objection.
While I've got documents in my hand.
Well, let me explain that exhibit. All right, folks, so we just marked this item as exhibit number 1. We won't receive it into evidence. What that means is when I receive an item into evidence, we give it an exhibit number. That means it is a piece of proof that you will have with you during deliberation to consider in this case. Now, the number we give them is no significance. Exhibit number 1 is no more, no less important than exhibit number 400. That just simply allows us to keep track. You'll hear throughout the course of the trial exhibits numbers being given. You can write those in your notes if you want to. You'll have all exhibits with you. There may be some holes, so we may not have exhibit number 35, for instance. It could be that we labeled something, decided not to use it in the case. So don't place any significance on any holes.
Your Honor, for the interest of expediency on behalf of Mr. Bassett, like the others, but I'm not going to object to any of these CAD reports or these 911s. No one inquires that. That'll just maybe make things more expedient for Jim.
That's right. Very good, gentlemen. If you just present well and everything, so you do.
And the first CAD report was for the death that occurred where? Refer back to it.
This first one was for an incident over at Fort Promise and Virginia Avenue.
Okay, that, what part of town is that, you know?
It's in the northwest part.
Okay. And the next big exhibit or document I was handing has been marked exhibit number 3. Is that a CAD report as well?
Yes, it is, sir.
From what location?
This is at 238 Dallas Street.
Is there a time stamp generated for when these calls were initiated?
Yes, this one is at 7:18 p.m.
7:18 p.m.?
Yes.
And I probably didn't ask you on the other one.
This one is at 4:08 p.m.
4:08 p.m., 7:19.
It's location on 3.
On exhibit 3.
I mean, not location, date. Same. 12/7.
I'm sorry.
12/17/2015.
In exhibit number 5, tell us what that CAD report is, when it was generated.
This is for an incident on December the 17th, 2015 at 10:12 p.m. at 2704 Badgett Drive.
Is that here in Knoxville?
Yes, sir.
All these locations you described, they're here in Knox County.
Yes, sir.
And lastly, we'll do mark exhibit number 7. Tell us what that CAD report is.
This one happened on December the 18th of 2015 at 1:59 a.m. at 1904 Natchez Avenue.
Exhibits 1, 3, 5, and 7.
1, 3, 5, and 7. And as you told us, there are associated 911 calls with that.
Yes, sir.
we'll have to listen, I guess, to some 911 calls at the Fort Promise in Virginia.
Yes, sir.
Here you'll be able to recognize that once they start playing, it's coming from
Yes, sir.
your system.
Call one, on Thursday, December 17, 2015, and for 7 p.m., with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID is extension is 211.
I live on Fort Promise and I just heard a lot of gunshots. Okay, what block, Fort Promise? What do you mean? After you come down from Virginia. Okay. And it was quite a bit of gunshots. I mean, quite a bit. At first, it was so many that I didn't think it was gunshots, but yeah, it was definitely gunshots. Fort Promise, Virginia. Huh? You said Fort Promise, is Fort Promise at Virginia, after? Yeah. Okay. Fort Promise Drive. Okay. There's a lot of gunshots. Okay. You want to give your name? No. Okay. All right. We get to this thing. All right. Thank you.
Did you recognize that as being one
Call
of
one,
the calls?
on Thursday,
Yes, sir.
December 17, 2015, at 4 p.m., with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID is extension is 203.
Knox County 911, where's your emergency?
I'm at 1511 Price Drive. Me and my best friend were sitting in my living room, and there was just a bunch of gunshots that just went off beside my building.
Can you give me the address again?
1501 Fort Promise Drive. I don't know who was that done it. Okay, tell someone to get home on my board. I don't know who done it. I don't know. I looked at my window and there was nobody there, but they just shot about 8 or 9 rounds out beside my building.
Okay. Do you want to leave an interview or be anonymous?
No, it's going to be anonymous. I haven't made a phone call to the non-emergency myself because I had a physical threat told me today over some he said, she said stuff, and I was already scared to come home. And I came home, we were 8 weeks pregnant, and then I came home today and I hear about 8 or 9 gunshots outside of my apartment.
We got this over to dispatch, and you'll have some days my day to check it out.
Thank you.
No problem.
I don't know.
Second call.
Yes, sir.
Call one, on Thursday, December 17, 2015, at 4:28 p.m., with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID is extension is 202.
National Police Communications, Julie.
Yes, ma'am, I have a question. I live on Fort Promise in Western Heights. Someone just came through shooting, and,
Did you see
that? Excuse me?
Did you see anybody or just heard it?
No, we just heard it. I was in a friend's apartment, but other than that, there's also a bunch of threats and stuff for, like me and a friend of mine. I mean, it's like a full moon out here. Is there any way maybe you guys could increase the patrol through here for tonight?
What's your address?
1444 Fort Promise.
You have an apartment number, anything?
It's 140, but please don't send them my door. That's just more ammo.
Right. I'll just tell them to watch that area more. How many shots did you hear?
There was probably about 12 or more shots. I could hear like probably one clip, and then I heard another clip.
You won't be in the city, you just heard it.
Right, we were inside. I mean, the police sent me calls anonymously by my friend, but you know, you can hear everything over here, and the rumors is they're going to be back, and all this other stuff is happening, and threats are being made over here, and just, if you could increase it so that they could look for suspicious activity.
So there's threats saying they're gonna come by.
Yeah. over stupid stuff, like really stupid stuff. This is the worst place ever.
Okay. All right, I'll let them know.
All right, thank you.
Call 1 on Thursday, December 17, 2015 at 5:23 p.m. with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID is extension is 203.
Johnson County 911, where's your emergency? Maybe.
Hi, I was wondering if you guys had an emergency number that I can call if there was some children in danger. It's two family members of mine in a car, and the guy that's driving the car is shooting with the kids in the car.
And where's this going on at?
This incident happened in Western Heights, but the two little children are my family members that were in the car. I don't know the guy that was driving, but everybody's seen it today, maybe about an hour ago. And the children try to need somebody to help her find out where these kids are. Because the mom is also in the car with the guy that's shooting. There's a grayish black Lexus. I didn't know the plate number, but I do know the two people's names and the children's names.
Okay, what is your name if you want to leave it?
My name is Alicia Harris.
Can you call 201-5550?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who else in the car with this guy?
Jasmine Mason.
And that is your daughter?
Mother. No, she's my cousin. My cousin has children by her, and my cousin just moved out of town a few months ago. Her children are my cousins.
So it's your cousin's baby's mother?
Yeah.
And she has her two kids, right?
Yes. Andrew, Cornelius, and Jayla. They're both in the car with her, and they were out there screaming and hollering. I don't know if anybody in Western Heights reported it, but this guy just came through shooting.
And her boyfriend or something?
Yes. And his name is Brandon Green. And I actually been texting him to ask him where he is so we can get the kids. And I have a phone number for him, but he's not trying to tell me where they are with the children.
What are they driving?
It was a grayish, blackish Lexus. What time of year? Like, not even a new one. Like 2000 or something? Like a 2000 Lexus or something. Grayish, black, dark color.
Okay. Alright, we have some information over to dispatch. To try to get some
Okay. Is there a number that I can call to report her to DHS?
It's probably DPS, so you could call, you could just call them and see if I have their general number. I sure do, whenever you're ready.
Yes.
It's 877 237 0004. Did you get that?
Did you say 237-0004?
It's 877-237-0004.
Okay, thanks a lot.
No problem.
This may be reduced to two separate deals, and making that to number two, those 911 calls from that event.
Yes, sir.
Without clarity.
And the next event related to Badger Street, Rex, is that correct? I'm sorry, Dallas.
Dallas.
On Thursday, December 17, 2015, at 7:17 p.m., with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID is extension is 207.
What's the address? Okay, the address.
238 down the street. Please, sir, come on. My mother's in pain.
Okay, what's the street? I had 238, what's the street?
It's 238 Dallas Street.
Dallas?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was your name?
My name is Natalia Billingsley.
Okay, where was your mom shot?
In the butt.
Okay, we got them on the way to you. I didn't get you over to Roll Metro, okay?
She got shot in the butt and she's on the ground.
Okay, we got them on the way to you. Do you know who did that?
Huh?
Do you know who shot your house and your mother?
No, we don't. I'm on the website. Please hurry, sir.
We got them on the way to you, man. Okay, I didn't get you over to Roll Metro, okay? Hang on one moment. Stay on the phone. Stay on the phone.
Hello, sir. Please help me. Hello?
Roll Metro, what's the address of your emergency?
Are they coming? Yes. I know. My leg.
What is going on?
She's hurting really bad.
Okay.
Are you still on phone with him?
Where's
Huh? Are you still on phone with him? Yes. Hold on. It's coming. Yes, that's what you say. Don't hurry. She's hurting. She's hurting.
What is the address that you're calling from? I'm EPS Rest.
Do you need my phone number or what?
I'm EPS Rest. Where do you live? Yes, ma'am.
That's one of the calls that subject to this part of the event.
Call 1, on Thursday, December 17, 2015, at 7:17 p.m., with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID is extension is 210.
No, traffic 911. Where is your emergency?
Yes, sir. I live in the 4,000 block of Lilac, and I just heard like 15, 20 shots. And it sounded like it was coming from west of my house. But I don't know if it was on Lilac. You know, sometimes they echo. It sounded close. But I mean, it was just boom, 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 boom. Yeah, and I'm scared.
What area was it coming from your house?
It sounded like it was coming from where I live at 4125 Lilac.
It sounded like it was close to the west.
Off street.
Close to the
And it was
street.
coming like it, no, I live like 2 houses from off.
Okay.
At the end of Lilac, it sounded like it was coming from west of my house. Towards Kirk Street, going that way.
And what's your name, ma'am?
I'd rather not give my name.
That's fine, I know you live in the area.
It's about safe. I'm sorry, what, sir?
I understand you live in the area.
Yes, sir, yeah, it is pretty scary. And there's a lot going on here.
All right. I've got to have an officer about to check the area, okay?
Thank you so much, I appreciate it. All right, bye-bye.
And those 2 phone calls were burned to the desk that you provided?
Yes, sir.
Correct. Good forward. And the next location where there are calls generated is at Magic Street.
Yes, sir, back to the right.
Again, those calls.
Call one on Thursday, December 17, 2015 at 10:05 p.m. with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID is extension is 207.
What the fuck is going on?
Hello?
I heard gunshots outside my house, 2704 Davis Drive. Lonsdale, come out here right now.
What was your street?
Well, 2704 Davis Drive.
How many did you hear?
Oh my God! Somebody is dead on the house! Oh my God!
What's going on?
Get my baby with her! Get my phone out!
Ma'am?
I did. 2704 Daisy Drive, Lonsdale. 2704 Daisy Drive, sir. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh
What
my
happened? What's
God.
going on?
Somebody got shot, sir. I was upstairs in my room. I heard gunshots probably about 6 a.m. I don't know.
Everything burnt to me? Ma'am, I need the street. Are you there? Hello? I can't understand you, man. I can't understand you. Hello? Ma'am? Hello?
Call one on Thursday, December 17, 2015 at 10:11 p.m. with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID is extension is 207.
Oh, God, take a bit of love.
on your front porch, you said?
He's not on my porch, he's on my friend's porch. Her address is 2704. Oh my God. Lord God, 2704. Yeah. Here they come, the police.
Okay, we got them on the way.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, I need you to stay on the line.
Call 1 on Thursday, December 17, 2015 at 10:14 p.m. Call 1 on Thursday, December 17, 2015 at 10:14 p.m. with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID extension is 201.
Hello.
County 911, where is your emergency?
At 2702 Badger Drive, next door to me, there's a dude on the back porch. He's dead. He just been shot. He's a young boy. He's not moving. He's unresponsive. I heard gunshots and his body was just laying in there.
Okay, what's your name?
I'm Ashley. I'm the next door neighbor. I don't know what happened. I heard shots and his body was just laying there.
And is he at apartment 717?
I'm not. Probably. I don't even know the apartment number.
Is he at 270 River Badger?
No, that's my number. He's the apartment next door. Damn, they just fucking killed him. Damn.
Did you see who did this?
No, I didn't see anything. I just heard a shot. I went outside.
Okay, the man that you see, is he white or black and what's he wearing?
I don't know. I just see a body on the back porch. He got his black.
Do you see clothes on him? Do you see any color of clothing on the body?
I'm not. I went away. I'm not looking at it. I have to go in the house.
When you did look at it, did you notice any colors of clothing?
Huh?
Did you see any colors of his clothing?
No. Y'all need to get somebody over here.
Okay, they're gonna have to come talk to you so you can tell them where it is, alright? Alright, thank you.
Call 1 on Thursday, December 17, 2015 at 10:10 p.m. with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID extension is 202.
Multiple police communications, Johnson.
Yes, sir. My name is Kelly Patrick.
Your name is Kelly Patrick?
Kelly. P-H-Y-L-L-I-S. Patrick. And I'm experiencing on your home.
Okay.
There's a guy that all this is like the red on, well, they must have red.
Okay, what's the address there?
My apartment number is 2907. It has 10 medical information.
What's the road name there?
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Sherman.
2907 Sherman?
Yes.
Okay. And are they doing anything, or are they just walking around?
Well, my grandson was going out. The friend is just come back, pick him up. And he came back in, he said, Granny, and it was like, he was real afraid to shake his face. He said, talking about, what you got, jerking or something like that. He said, no, man, but he started calling his phone, but he was calling his friend. Tell him, come on, pick him up. And he said, y'all been in black. And he just got a call from some of his lovers that said they were shooting at him back down and further down, back behind my phone, down in the development. So he said it's about 7 to 8 of them.
Okay. So So is it just guys standing there, or somebody get shot?
No, they were shooting at some guys down here. But further down further in along their home, back behind me somewhere down like your castle and going to somewhere down that area. I don't know exactly what part of it, but his little friends called and said that they just got some shooting at doing in them, and I don't know.
Okay, so did they get shot? Did they get shot at tonight?
Yes, just now, not too long ago.
Not too long ago, okay.
Yeah, I think 2 minutes ago. They were.
And they're out front?
No. They were out in front of my apartment. And my grandson told me, do not look outside.
How many of them are there?
He said 7, 8 of them, all in black, with red shoes and something else red around their feet. Yeah, he talked about like they were. I don't know the picture of the looks for colors, but I don't know. As long as they did not be up around here, and they did not mess with my grandson. I just think it would be good if somebody just come and look around and see what's going on. Maybe somebody will stop there and tell them what's going on. But I don't know. I'm just saying what they call for my grandson. So I know my grandson said they said to him while he was outside, what's cracking, that's what he did. I said, what's that mean? It's a grandson. Oh, Jane talk. I said, well, what does it mean?
Okay, what's your call like?
My number is 865-323-7224.
Okay, now do you want to stand off there tonight, or do you want them just to drive by?
I want them to drive through this community, the Longstaff homes.
Okay, you don't want to see an officer, you don't want them to come knock on your door.
Sure, but I don't have to tell them what I'm telling you.
Okay. I just have to ask that. You don't have to be an officer, I just have to ask that.
The only reason why I don't ever care about the police that come to see me, but the only reason why I don't want them coming tonight, because my grandson's afraid that if the police is sitting here, that they may try to do something here later on.
Right, I understand that. Well, I'll tell them not to come to your house, okay?
Okay, okay, copy.
Okay.
I don't care. Okay?
Alright, hang on 1 second, okay?
Alright.
Did you hear the gunshot?
No, because that was a bit too far away. But I think it's back 3 times. It sounded like they were right outside my back door almost. About 5, because it was between 6 and 7, right 5. It was like almost 11 o'clock at night. And that scared me. He woke me up.
Okay. I'll get this dispatch for you, okay?
All right, very good, thank you.
You're up,
Okay. Hello.
Those 4 phone calls were copied to the desk and provided to us as well. Next number 6.
Without objection, exhibit 6.
A series of calls from Natchez would be next, is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Call 1 on Friday, December 18, 2015 at 1:58 a.m. with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID is extension is 206.
I'm in the Green Hills apartment, I'm at 1904 in the details. There's a shooting out here in Green Hills. We're back.
Have you saw anybody, or you just hearing the gunshot?
The record, the record down. somebody's saying call 911. There's a car right in the one of the buildings.
Would you know what building it is or what they're outside of?
Yeah, they're out there. You come to the office, when you turn in, right there in the office on the right-hand side. They're all the office. Sir, you gotta get somebody here. I think they're in that car. It's, the car's ran into a building.
Do you know if anybody's been shot or anything?
It's the boy's hollering. Somebody in this car.
Alright, I've got them on the way out there, okay?
Okay, yeah, they're saying it's killed my cousin. That's all I know.
I'll let you know when it's back.
Oh God, they're beating on the doors. Oh my God. He hollered his name. The boy's hollering his name. Oh my God. Oh my God.
So the car's supposed to be in the building though also?
Yeah, the car's doing the thing. He was in the across from me, smashed into the building. Ended up crying. I think they're trying to get somebody out. I don't know. Oh, yeah, they're coming up to this apartment building. Make sure the door's locked. Oh my God. They're coming up and down the steps.
You're inside your apartment though, right?
Yes, I am. I'm not outside now. I'm looking out the window. If he's coming into my apartment building, they're here. They're coming upstairs. Oh my God, I've been telling the office those boys were always causing trouble.
Do you know why they're coming into your building? Do they live in that building?
No, I don't know. He's not going upstairs. He's not knocking at the door upstairs. He's over in the car. I can go up above me. The lawyers tell that woman to come out. They call her Granny. They said, call 911, call 911.
They're on the way out there. We're getting a lot of calls, okay?
Okay, thank you.
I'll let you go in this corner, but they're on the way, okay? They're on the way, okay? We're getting a lot of calls from everybody else, okay?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Call 1 on Friday, December 18, 2015 at 1:58 a.m. with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID is extension is 205.
I'll make every single not carrying out one worse for person.
I was in the grandiose department and it's gunshots, several gunshots. Just woke me up, I was just still out of our sleep.
Okay, what is your address?
I don't want you to take my blood.
They won't come that far. I'm just getting an idea of where the shots were coming from inside the complex.
It's next to the street. It was as soon as you came in.
Okay, what's the cross street?
Neptune and Mongolian.
Okay. How many shots did you hear?
I can't even count.
Are there several of them?
Yeah.
Did you hurt?
I'm coming just coming woods. I don't know.
Okay. I'll get these anything changes calls back.
Okay. Green Hills apartment shop on Saturday.
We'll get several calls on it.
Yeah, I think somebody done got shot at me. Cause the car outside the building, and, these bruises around this car, somebody in the car shot.
Where at?
Green Hills apartment.
Okay, where at?
On the top, we are on, it's on, Natchez, on the top. When you talk to any Green Hills, they'll see it.
What kind of vehicle is it?
It's a black vehicle that's gonna get in front of the building. They can't miss it.
And it's at the top of the Natchez.
It's at the top when you first come in Green Hills.
Okay, I'll look up.
They said, they couldn't go after power, too many people come. I said, go with it. Go with it, and it's in the highway. And they got to go out here. So I ain't gonna take me in the highway, I'm not gonna do it.
On Friday, December 18, 2015, at 1:58 a.m., with a GMT offset of of -300 minutes. Agent ID extension is 203.
County 911, where is your emergency?
It's in Green Hills apartment. I just heard a lot of gunshots.
Okay.
There's people outside running around.
What's your address, please?
It's 1936 Natchez Avenue.
Okay, you said you heard gunshots?
So I heard a lot of gunshots. I heard people running around screaming. I think everybody's left, so. There were several people shooting. There's people outside yelling at them and running down.
Okay, what is the, actually, hold on a minute. Okay. What is your name now?
That's Maria Beaver.
Would you like to leave a phone number, Maria?
Oh no, man, I think somebody might have got shot. I don't think there's somebody outside yelling at.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I told you I'll get up or something. I don't know if all of them shot or what.
All right. You don't see anyone, you just hear it, correct?
I don't see anyone. I look outside, I see cars coming out and a bunch of people leaving, but
Okay.
there's someone outside crying, screaming or something. I really don't know. I can't see. I think it's in the top parking lot.
All right. I'll go ahead, I'll send that to dispatch, okay?
But,
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
The voicemail box of 86520023888. At the tone, please record your voice message. When you are finished recording, you may hang up or press pound for more options.
911, we just received this call. If you have an emergency, please give us a call back. Thank you. I didn't mean to send that 1043, I'm sorry. You hear it, Josh? I didn't mean to send that 1043. WH. You didn't, okay. Good deal. County 911.
yes. I'm in Green Hills apartment up on Natchez Drive. I just heard a whole bunch of gunshots and I'm looking out a window and there's a car that's crashed into the apartment complex building. And there's some guys out there screaming. I think somebody's gonna get hurt real bad.
A car is crashing into the building.
It's a apartment building, yes ma'am. I just woke up out my sleep, heard a lot of gunshots and hit the floor, and someone told me to look out the window, and I looked out the window like the building across from me, the car is down there inside the building.
What's your
And
address?
whoever's in there,
What is your address?
19, it's Green Hills Apartment. Natchez Street. It's not in the no apartment, it's outside. Okay, well, here goes some guys. Here goes some police and everyone's right here.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Call 1 on Friday, December 18, 2015 at 1:58 a.m. with a GMT offset of -300 minutes. Agent ID extension is 207.
Knox County 911, where's the emergency? Where? What's the address? I can't understand you. Okay, you have to speak up, man. I can't understand you. At Green Hills? Okay, what's the apartment number?
It's not my apartment, like I'm out here in general. I don't really know what to do that, but I'm supposed to satisfy. I don't know.
You heard gunshots?
Yeah, I just feel like my it's not making up for it. I think what I'm saying.
How many did you hear? Okay. How many gunshots did you hear?
A lot. Like a lot.
Okay.
From different directions.
So 30? Less than 30?
Like, maybe more basic for a lot more times.
Okay.
Alright.
Thank you.
Sorry. Bye.
Bye.
Call 1 on Friday, December 18, 2015 at 1:58 a.m. with a GMT offset of -300 minutes. Agent ID extension is 201.
Knox County 911, where is your emergency?
Yes, I live in Green Hills, 1912 Matthew Street,
Okay.
apartment 1404.
Okay.
And I don't know if anybody was hurt, but like I was in the bed and like somebody just started shooting, and I don't know if this is 100 or not.
How many shots have you heard?
So I've heard at least 12 or 13 shots, and there's somebody in my hallway that is shot like now.
You say there's someone that is in your hallway and they're saying they've been shot?
I believe so.
Have you seen them or just heard them?
I just hear people running and screaming.
Did you want to leave your name, ma'am?
Yes, please, could somebody hurry up and call?
What's your name?
Asiana Rebels.
And do you know if anyone actually got shot or not?
Yes, there's someone in my hallway screaming, oh no, and I believe it's a male.
Okay, when they're shouting, oh no, are they saying I've been shot?
It's like 4 or 5 people are screaming, so I'm not sure. All you hearing is, oh no, oh no. I just heard someone saying he shot me in the back.
Does that sound like a male or a female voice?
It sounds like a male.
Alright, I'll let them know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more you got? That's how we get right plan.
That's all from that incident.
You got another? All right, folks, I know one thing I didn't say this morning, I think the rural sequestration of witnesses have been requested. Is that correct for everybody?
That is correct.
So if there are any witnesses in the courtroom, you're not allowed to be in the courtroom during the testimony of any other witnesses. You may not assess your testimony with any other witnesses throughout the course of the trial until the case is submitted to the jury. All right, folks.
Just say who would ask that investigator level would be allowed to remain in.
He would be designated as representative investigator. You may remain in the courtroom.
I have no objection.
And you're giving out a number of victims. I'm seeing 3 victims.
All right, so you're asking under the Victims' Rights Amendment, they'd be allowed to remain. Any objection?
I have no objection. I just want to make sure, I'm not going to know, because of the
Yeah.
photos and the photographs, who some of the possible witnesses are in the general will, so I assume she'll be searched.
Yeah, all sides have to police your own witnesses. Also, I started thinking about it, the witnesses that we're going to have will not be videoed for the broadcast. I don't want to say that in front of the jury, so I do need the parties to submit to me a list of witnesses. I want to know if they are audio only or completely blacked out. The ones that are completely blacked out are under 18 now. Everybody else will be audio only. So if you give me that list, I'll give it to the media so they will know, and I won't have to say in front of the jury, don't record this. Okay. All right, court stands in recess to 1:30.
Now we call up Rebecca Taylor.
Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in the case now on trial will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. All right, please have a seat, man.
Name, please.
Rebecca Taylor.
Where are you, back in 2015, where were you employed?
I was employed in the Knoxville Police Department.
Where are you employed now?
I am a contract investigator for the federal government.
Back in 2015, what was your position with the Knoxville Police Department?
I was an evidence technician.
What is an evidence technician?
I basically attend crime scenes, photograph, process, and collect evidence of those crime scenes.
Now, is there a particular shift that you would work at the time?
My shift at that time was late night shift, 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. usually.
Do you recall the events back on December 17th and December 18th, 2015?
I did.
And that night, was that a normal night for you or not normal?
It was very untypical.
Why is that?
We had series of several shootings. They started out, one that I did not work the scene, but I attended the scene. It was on Dallas Avenue, and then another one in Lonsdale apartment homes, and then after that, Green Lawn apartment homes. 3 in the same night. It's not typical.
Okay. And so let's start out with Dallas Street. You said that you went there. Did you do any? Why did you go to Dallas Street?
We just went to observe. I was with another technician. We went to observe what the other evidence technicians were doing.
And who was the evidence technician that was working the Dallas Street scene?
Actually, not certain. It might have been Eddie Johnson.
Okay. So you go there. You observed. Where do you go after you leave Dallas Street?
I believe we went back to the safety building, the KPD headquarters, and then after that, we get a call for a shooting in Lonsdale neighborhood.
All right, so when you get that call for service, what do you then do?
We arrived at Lonsdale about 10:30 p.m. Technician Bethany Fine was with me, so we arrived together at the scene. Once we pull up, the scene, there were a lot of people around. Everybody was out on their porches and around the scene. There were also a lot of vehicles in the street and all around. We pull up, I begin photographing the scene. Then there was a cordoned off area of crime scene tape. I approached the area with the crime scene tape, still photographing, taking photographs of overall shots, which is what we normally do at a scene. On the back porch of what I later found out was 2704 Badgett Avenue, there was what looked like a deceased person underneath a blanket, a blue blanket. I took more photographs, went up on the porch. I noticed a very large bullet defect on one of the doors up on that porch. I photographed that. Underneath that bullet defect, there was also a spent bullet, a fired bullet underneath there. I photographed that. I marked it as evidence, number one. Then There's a package of Swisher Sweet cigarettes that are right next to where the body was. I've marked that as evidence, photographed that as well. Then we uncovered the body. It was a young male. He was laying on his stomach, his arms underneath him. He had blood around his head, in his hair, around his face, and a fairly decent sized pool of blood near his face and mouth. I photographed him in his entirety, in the details of his face and hands. Then we were told that there were a lot of shell casings in the street, fire shell casings in the street that was sort of catty corner to where he was laying. So Technician Fine and I went over there, began to mark the shell casings with evidence markers. Also, Technician Eddie Johnson was there as well, so he was helping mark the evidence with shell casings. At some point, the medical examiner arrived, so I went with her to examine the body further. Later, I found out that the victim was Zaevion Dobson. The medical examiner and I turned him over. We found a hole in his sweatshirt on his right side, and then we lifted the sweatshirt up. There was another hole in his t-shirt. We lifted that up. There was a corresponding hole in his body, in his right upper chest. We photographed that, photographed the details of him. Then I went back to the street and continued to help mark shell casings. There were 34 in all in the street. So we marked, photographed, and eventually collected those. In addition to that, there were several bullet defects in the porch where Zaevion was lying. I will photograph those as well. And then the residence that was catty corner to his, there were several bullet defects in that house and in the railing, and I photographed those as well. And we collected all the evidence and took it back to KPD headquarters.
And what is a bullet defect?
It's where a bullet hits something solid. It could be a hole, it could be just a nick, it could be any sorts of things, so we call it a bullet defect.
And did you take a series of, you or Ms. Fine take a series of photographs there at the scene?
Yes.
And I'd like to first just talk about the scenes that night, photos that night. Y'all want to see these?
I have no objection. We've seen those. That's fine. I apologize. I wouldn't.
If you could, if you don't mind, to look through exhibits 9 through 156. And I ask you to recognize those exhibits.
General, I have no objection as far as just in order. It's 9. Which I want to make sure they are all sequential, 9 through 1 through 56.
Yes.
Okay, no problem.
Any objection, Ms. Lee?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Rogers, no objection.
For the record, we would like to move into evidence exhibits 9 through 156.
Without objection, I'll be listed as exhibits 9 through 156 and received into evidence.
I'd like to display those to the jury.
You may publish. Would you like the lights on?
Please.
You ready?
Yes, sir. Let me, the light in the corner, want to explain to us the photos that we're looking at?
Also mark on the screen.
Okay. Exhibit 10.
This is when we first arrived, I believe. This is sort of the area. The first thing that we do when we arrive is take overall shots of the area where we are. So this is right to the left of this over here is where Zaevion was.
Exhibit 11.
Again, same building. Here's the porch where Zaevion was.
Exhibit 12.
This is right above, it's the window right above that porch. And right here, you can see glass broken. You can actually see glass right here on the roof too. That was a bullet went through there.
General, let me point out my projector issue here. Folks, what you're seeing on the screen is projected a digital image from the hard copies of the photos that have been introduced as exhibits 9 through 156. We lose some resolution through this projector. This is not a digital screen, obviously, because those cost $50,000 where they go. And so it's not going to be quite as sharp on here as it will be on the actual digital image or on the printed out copies. I just want to point that out. Jerry, may continue.
Exhibit 13.
That's that same window, just a different picture of it.
14.
This is just the corner of that house. The porch was over here. That window is right up above there.
15.
This is the porch. You can see person under the blue blanket there.
16.
It's another angle from the porch, just looking at it that way. There's a bullet defect right there as well. And back in that door also.
Sorry.
That's okay.
17.
And that's just a close-up of that bullet defect in that railing.
18.
Another close-up of that bullet defect.
19.
That's just on the other side of that porch with that bullet defect.
20.
I'm not entirely sure what that is. Yeah, I think I might have tried to, there's a bullet defect in this door here, and I think it was just a
21.
There it is. That defect right there, that was a bullet that hit right there.
22.
Close up of it, you can see where the paint came off, and the bullet hit right there in the middle.
23.
Just another shot of that same bullet defect.
24.
The bullet fell right down here. I marked it with evidence marker 1. It's right up there. We'll get a closer picture.
25.
That's the bullet that hit that door.
26.
It's just a general picture. There was a lot of debris on that porch, some debris on that porch. It's a hair extension and a lip gloss.
27.
As we're looking at that bullet hole again in relation to where the body was here, and that bullet right down there.
28.
Those are those Swisher Sweet cigarillos I mentioned earlier.
29.
This is Zaevion once I removed the blanket.
30.
It's a picture of his wrist. There was blood. Most of his blood was on his head, but there was some blood on his hands and wrists.
31.
This is a picture, again, another angle of him, and here on the chair there's also some more blood.
32.
It's just a close-up of that blood.
33.
It's just another shot of that porch. You can see that lip gloss, the hair extension, just another debris in that.
And also over in this area here, is there a bullet defect there?
I'm not sure if that's, you're talking about right there. I'm not sure if that's a bullet defect or not.
Okay. 34.
That's that one, the door again.
35.
That's just with the scale to give you an idea of the size.
36.
This is the porch right below where Zaevion was. These appear to be bullet defects in the concrete.
37.
Just a close-up of the one on the right.
38.
Close-up of the one on the left.
39.
This is where we started marking the shell casings that were found in the street. We start with number 3. I already used 2 evidence markers on the porch. So we have 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I believe those were all 40 caliber casings.
40?
This is just another look from there. You can see where the crime scene tape is. This is where they start. Just another view of the casings.
41?
Just another look at that. Standing straight, looking out into the street. Same thing.
42?
Same thing, just from back a little bit further.
And so the jury knows we're trying to take an overall shot of the casings first.
Yes, for each photograph we do an overall shot, a mid-range, which is basically to kind of show where the casing is, and then an up-close shot. So each of these casings have 3 photographs, just to show where they are.
43?
This is actually, we have marked all of the casings. You can see all of them up in here. Number 36 was the final one that we found in that field of casings. And so this is looking back just to show all the casings, the evidence markers.
44?
Just another same shot. All of the casings there, same thing there.
Same thing at 45?
Second in a little bit, yeah.
46?
And again, looking back, same shot as well.
All right, now it's 47.
This is where I start photographing each casing individually. This was number 3. This is a 40 Smith & Wesson laser casing.
So exhibit 48, what does exhibit 48 show you? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yes.
This is a close-up of the 40 caliber Smith & Wesson casing laser.
49?
Just an overall shot starting number 8 here, I believe, looking forward.
50?
This is number 4, casing the second one I photographed.
51?
This is the up close. And you can see in these evidence markers, there's scales right here to help you gauge the size, what we're looking at there. And that is a 40 Smith & Wesson Federal shell casing.
52?
It's another up close of number 5, which is the 40 Smith & Wesson Blazer casing.
53?
This is an overall shot of number 5 and number 6.
54?
Number 6, which is the 40 Smith & Wesson Blazer casing.
55?
My overall shot of number 7.
56?
And up close of number 7 is 40 Smith & Wesson Blazer. I'm sorry, 40 Smith & Wesson Federal.
57?
And overall number 8.
58?
Which is a 40 Smith & Wesson Federal casing. Some of these, as you can see, this one, it's hard to tell on the screen, but some of them were damaged. A lot of them were in the street, and some may have been run over, stepped on, emergency personnel came by. This is one that looks like it might have been damaged. Might have been damaged by being run over or whatnot.
59?
This is just an overall picture. We start at number 10 right here. Come forward.
60?
Number 9 is a 40 Smith & Wesson Blazer casing.
61?
It's known up close of number 10, which is a 40 Smith & Wesson CPC casing. And again, that one was damaged as well.
62?
This is just a shot starting again at number 10, looking back all the way to number 19.
63?
This is an overall of 10, 11, 12.
64?
It's number 11, 40 Smith & Wesson Blazer casing.
65?
Up close to number 12, 40 Smith & Wesson Federal casing. Again, damaged.
66?
Just an overall shot of numbers 11 through 19.
67?
It's another overall shot. Same.
68?
Number 13, 40 Smith & Wesson Federal up close.
69?
Number 14 of 40 Smith & Wesson Blazer, again, damaged.
70?
I'm sorry. Are you saying blazer or laser?
Blazer.
B-L-A-Z.
B-L-A-Z, I'm sorry, Blazer.
Is that a brand of?
It is a brand. What I'm saying is, when I say Smith & Wesson, it's like a make and model. So Smith & Wesson would be the make and Blazer would be the model of these. And they're all, you can tell on the end of each casing, there's what's called head stamp, and on there it tells you what type of casing that is. So it's basically the make and model of the casing, and that's what I'm saying when I tell you what type these are.
Sorry, 70?
Sorry, number 15 was a 40 Smith & Wesson Blazer.
71.
This is an overall shot of numbers 12, which is right over here, through 18. This right here, I marked 3 different casings with orange marking paint to number 3 up top, and number 17 here, and eventually we'll get to number 36, because it was the first, mid-range, and the last casing in this grouping. So that book right there is marking spray paint.
Now, why did you mark it with spray paint? What were you going to do?
I wanted to measure from each of these back to where Zaevion was, and we could tell sort of the distances that these shots were fired from.
72.
This is number 16, a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer.
73.
It's an up close of that same one.
74.
This is number 17, orange marking paint there. Number 40 Smith & Wesson Blazer.
75.
It's an overall shot. We've got 13 through 19 on this one.
76.
Number 18 is a 40 Smith & Wesson Blazer casing.
77.
Number 19, this was a mid-range shot. The casing's right there. I may not get up close with that one. That was a 9mm Luger PMC.
What about 78?
This is a shot of items 20, 29, 30, and 27.
79.
Number 20 is a 9mm Luger PMC.
80.
It's an overall, some of those 22, 21, 24, and 25.
81.
Number 21 was a 40 Smith & Wesson Blazer.
82.
Number 22 was a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson CBC.
83.
It's a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson PMC.
84.
40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer. You can't really see it. It's right there. The casing is just in the black of the asphalt.
85.
It's a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer.
86.
This is just an overall shot. Starting 19, I think, is the first number here. All the way down to 35, which is right behind that tire.
87.
That is a 40 Smith & Wesson Blazer. Up close.
88.
9mm Luger PMC.
89.
That is number 28, which was behind that vehicle. There's also number 20 right there.
90.
Number 28 was a 9mm Luger PMC casing.
91.
Just some of those end shots there. Number 20, 29, 30, and 27.
92.
29 was a 9mm Luger PMC.
93.
It's a 9mm Luger PMC again, up close.
94.
Just an overall shot again of some of these 29, 27, all the way to 35 right there.
95.
31 and 32, both 9mm Luger PMCs. They're hard to see, but they are right there and right there.
96.
It's 9mm Luger PMC. You get closer.
97.
And again, another 9mm Luger PMC.
98.
It's 33 through 35 overall shots.
99.
You get another overall shot starting with number 20 back there and up to number 35 right there.
100.
Number 33 was a 9mm Luger PMC. It's actually right there.
101.
Number 34 was another 9mm Luger PMC.
102.
Number 35 was a 9mm Luger PMC.
103.
Number 36, this is the final one of that set, and like I said, I also marked this eventually with marking paint, and that was a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer.
104.
It's an up close of that, and you can see it's damaged at the tip there also.
All right, 105.
This is just a shot. This car was parked catty corner from where Zaevion was. The porch is right over here. There is a bullet defect in the back of that car right there.
106.
That is a closer picture of that bullet defect. this sticky, that I put that sticker on there to scale to show the size of that. And that's an up close of that bullet defect in that vehicle.
And that's 107?
Yes.
What about 108?
This was a vehicle, I think this was parked right behind that silver car. And there's a bullet defect in this vehicle as well.
109?
That's that same vehicle, the bullet defect is right down there.
110?
That is an up close of that bullet hole.
111?
This is the house that was catty corner to where Zaevion was. You go right through that porch there, that's where he was. There were bullet defects in this porch railing and on this porch.
112?
That's just the address, it was 1954 Goins.
113?
It's just another overall shot of that house looking from the street.
114?
This is the side of that house. If you're standing on that porch where Zaevion was, you're looking directly at that house. The defects, I believe, are right here on this porch.
115?
This is just, there's a blood defect there. There are some on this house. That's that same apartment.
116?
This is the railing right there. There's a hole.
117?
That is just an up close of that hole on the porch.
118?
There it is. It's hard to see. There is a defect right there in the siding.
119?
And there it is up close.
Now, did you go back to the scene, or was this that night? Did you recover a bullet?
This, we went back later.
Okay. Tell us about that.
We, technician Bethany Fine and I went back, I want to say it was almost a week later, I can't remember the exact date. We got a call from the homeowner that said there's something, or the van owner, so there's something rattling around in their door. So we got there. It's hard to see on this picture, but this is that red van, that red Dodge Caravan. We took the door apart and got in there and found the bullet that had penetrated that door from the outside.
And that's Exhibit 120. What about Exhibit 121?
This is just further in there. The bullet is actually, I believe it's right there. That's just the plate of that vehicle.
Just showing us the same van as before.
Same van, yeah. That's the vehicle. And this is the bullet after we pull it out.
Okay, so now, and once you pull the bullet out, what did you do with the bullet?
We confiscated it into evidence.
And when you say put it into evidence, what does that mean?
We sealed up, marked it, and put it into the Knoxville Police Department's evidence room.
And all the casings that we talked about, that you talked about, what did you do with those casings?
Same thing. We marked them all individually, sealed them all individually, and put them in our evidence room in the police department.
And the recovered bullet and the Swisher Sweet cigarettes.
Same thing. Everything's marked individually, packaged individually, but it's all placed in evidence.
Now, so explain to us, you said that the reason why you spray painted the street was what reason?
I wanted to measure the distance and also get a line of sight from each of those points because there was such a large field of casings spread down the street. We wanted to see how far they were shooting and what kind of line of sight they had. So this, like I told you, we did evidence marker number 3, which was the first one that we saw, evidence marker 17, and evidence marker 36. This is from 36, which was that final shell casing in that street. That's the view standing on number 36, looking back. And this apartment right here is where Zaevion was.
125.
And this is looking back from number 17. That was in the middle of that field of casings. And again, that's the porch right there. And this is number 3. And this van is still here. And the porch is right here. This is the porch that had some extra bullet defects. This is the porch where Zaevion was. This is, I want to say maybe a week later we came back.
Sure. Well, what I was going to do is I was going to listen. Let me pause it for a second. And ask you if you recognize. You prepare a sort of kind of a diagram. You recognize Exhibit 5, Frank? Okay. And what is Exhibit 519?
Yeah. Feel free, folks, if y'all can't see, feel free to move. You may say.
I've got it up here. Whatever's good for you, whichever one is good for you.
This is a overall shot, actually, from Google Earth on that street. This is the porch where Zaevion was. This is One's Drive. This is the little back area by this porch. This was a Google Earth just taken directly from the computer. But what I did is so here are where each of these casings were, number 36, number 17, and 3 that I told you about. Again, the porch is over there. So what we did is we took a laser measure, stood at each of these points, and made this back to the porch where he was. So we got 194 feet from number 3, which was the first casing that we found. Number 17 was in the middle of that grouping at 152.8 feet. And number 36 was the closest one at 129 feet. So that's what we marked. These casings, what we talked about, the yellow ones are those 40 caliber casings that I talked about, some of the different brands. And these red ones are the 9mm casings. And these are the photographs that we just looked at for each of the points.
And so what I would like to do is let me go ahead and introduce those casings. Now, and you don't have to open them up. I'm just going to introduce the envelopes and let you point out where they were recovered from.
I'm not going to object to them or anything. Just the only thing I want to know is like which ones, when you're pointing, as far as this being 3, this one being 36, because that's our spread.
Yes, sir.
Any objections to the?
And because she's going to be actually hitting something that's small and we don't have a display, can I walk over so I can see?
Feel free, folks, to come over here if you can see better.
All right, so first, let me move the evidence. You recognize Exhibit 474?
Yes.
What is Exhibit 474?
No, I'm sorry, before we do that, I really can't see you because of the board. Are you going to continue to refer to that?
I was going to have her to
I'll
point to the casings because I. All right. 474, what is that?
This is evidence marker number 1, which was the bullet right they found on the porch next to that door up there.
That's Exhibit 474 in his evidence. What about Exhibit 475?
475, evidence marker 3, this is what starts down here. So it's evidence marker number 3, which was the 40 caliber Smith & Wesson laser cartridge casing.
Like 475 in his evidence, 476.
Joe, I'm going to let you do all these in a group at the end since nobody's in.
Okay, yes, sir.
Just so, because I was sitting down at that one time, 475 goes to number 3, right?
Yes. Evidence marker number 4, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson federal casing. Right.
477.
Evidence marker number 5, Right here, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer casing.
478.
Number 6, right there, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer casing.
479.
This mark number 7, right here, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Federal.
480.
That's evidence marker number 8, right here, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Federal.
481.
Evidence marker number 9, and it's right here, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer casing.
482.
Evidence marker number 10, right here, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson CBC casing.
483.
Evidence marker number 11, right here, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson.
484.
40 caliber Smith & Wesson Federal, it's number 12. Right here.
485.
Evidence marker number 13, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Federal, 13 is right there.
486.
14, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer, evidence marker number 14 is right there.
487.
Evidence marker 15, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer, 15 is right there.
488.
Number 16, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer, right there.
489.
Number 17, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer,
490.
evidence marker 18, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer, 18 is right there.
491.
Number 19, 9mm Luger PMC. That's out. Let's worry there.
Is that your phone there?
It's probably not music.
Is that one? I'm so sorry.
Yes, 496. I'm sorry, show us again what 491 was.
Number 19. Right there.
All right.
That's the 9mm.
492.
Evidence marker number 20. Right there, 40 or 9mm Luger PMC.
43. I'm sorry. 493.
Evidence marker number 21. 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer. 21 is right there, yellow.
Exhibit 494.
Number 22. 40 caliber Smith & Wesson CBC. Right there.
Exhibit 495.
Evidence marker number 23. 40 caliber Smith & Wesson PMC.
Exhibit 496.
Evidence marker number 24. 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer. 24 it is right there.
Exhibit 497.
Evidence marker 25. 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer. 25 it is right there.
Exhibit 498.
Number 26. 40 caliber Smith & Wesson Blazer. 26 is right there.
Exhibit 499.
Evidence marker number 27. Let's see. 27. What is this one here? 9mm Luger PMC.
Exhibit 500.
Number 28, also 9mm Luger PMC. One of these in here.
When we blew that up, we lost some resolution.
It's in here. Some of the red ones are the 9mm Lugers.
Exhibit 501.
Marker 29, 9mm Luger. Yeah, there we go.
Exhibit 502.
Marker 30, 9mm Luger. In this area.
Exhibit 503.
Marker 31, 9mm Luger. And this necessarily up in here.
Exhibit 504.
Evidence mark 32, 9mm Luger, another area here.
Exhibit 505.
Evidence mark 33, 9mm Luger, again, that area there.
Exhibit 506.
Number 34, 9mm Luger, in there.
Exhibit 507.
Number 36, that's this big one here, 9mm, I'm sorry, it's a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson, 36.
Exhibit 508.
And this is number 35, 9mm Luger, I believe that's right there.
Copy of all those exhibits in his evidence.
Without objection, they will be received.
And in these three photographs, as part of this diagram, these three photographs again remind us what they show.
I'm sorry.
Those three photographs.
These are taken from each point, standing here, looking back at where the gun was. So this was at number 3. Here is the porch right here where he was. This is standing at number 17, looking back at the porch. And this is from number 36, looking back at the porch here.
I have to move exhibit 519 in his evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
No, Your Honor.
We've got one more diagram.
519.
Now, did you also exhibit 518 after looking at Patty Resid's report?
Yes.
To prepare another diagram to break down the different cases.
Yes.
And explain to us exhibit 518.
Patty
General,
Resid is,
I'm sorry, I thought 518 was the CAD report.
Yes, it was. That was the number I had messed up on. So I'm going to make that
I'll make this 520. You can just go whatever last number you got.
I'm going to say you've got a 519. I will make this. I hate to do 520 because I know that I've got a 520.
You can just make up a number if you want.
Was that last diagram 519?
The last diagram
Laura's
is
photo is
519.
That one right there.
The one that she just testified to is 519?
And that one on the board is 519.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm going to go with number. For right now, I'll say 520.
Okay.
All right, so explain to us what is 520.
this is, I'm with our fire examiner. She had taken each of these types of casings that I talked about and matched them to a certain gun in this series of shootings. So these are just color coded to each type of gun. The yellow was sort of an outlier. It was one casing from a 40 caliber weapon. The green there were 11 casings from this particular gun, the 40 caliber. The red were all the 9mm casings from this particular gun, and the white are all casings from the same gun. These all colors are from the same gun of each color. So these white ones are all from the same gun and the 40 caliber.
So we've got the 9mm are in red, and then the 40s are going to be in white, yellow, and green.
Yes.
I bring this in as Exhibit 520.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
No objection.
Exhibit 520.
Social Suites, Exhibit 509.
I did. This was the evidence marker number 2 on the porch near Zaevion's head.
This is Exhibit 509.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 509.
All right, back to our slideshow. So you were telling us that you went back to the scene sometime later. What did you do when you went back to the scene? What was the point of going back to the scene?
This is when we measured the distance from those evidence markers that I marked with orange marking paint. We also did a flight path reconstruction with a laser, which I think we have pictures of that a little bit later. We also photographed that particular night. It was very, very dark. So it was difficult to see some of the bullet holes and bullet defects. Bullet defects in the sides of the building and the roof. So we went back and took more pictures at a better time of day.
All right, so 127, what are we looking at?
This is the side of the building. Zaevion was found on the porch right around this corner.
128?
There is a bullet defect right here. And this defect, once we start on the laser, this is going to be important because it's going to be used for the flight path. So remember where this was. This is right at the corner of that building. Right around this corner is where Zaevion was.
129?
That's just an up close of that bullet hole.
Now, why do y'all take measurements of these bullet holes, bullet defects?
So we can see the size. When you take an up close picture like that, if this was not in it, it would just be a hole. You'd have no idea what size it was. So we use the scale to determine the size of the hole.
130?
This is the window that's right above where that hole is. There's a defect right here.
131?
I'm sorry, that window was down low. I can't reach up that high. This was a lower window, and that's the close-up of that defect.
132?
There is another defect right there in that window, same side of that building.
133?
This is a small defect, and this is why I generally call them defects. Instead of holes, it encompasses everything, just a little nick on the side of it.
134?
Again, it's a measurement of that up close.
135?
This is the side of that building, and I believe there is a defect right up there.
136?
And that is a close-up as I could get of that.
137?
This is the same corner of that building. There's another hole right there for defect.
138?
This is the awning over the porch, and there's a hole right there.
And that's the porch that Mr. Dobson was on?
Yes.
139?
There it is, as close as I could get.
140?
Again, the corner of the building, and right there. And I may have misspoke. This, we'll see the pictures later. This may be the one that we use the laser in. Now that I think about it, we'll see the pictures. But it was on this side of the building for sure.
141?
It's just an up close of that bullet hole.
142?
And again with the scale.
143?
This is the porch right next to where Zaevion was, right next door. There is a defect right here and one also right here. There's an up close of that.
It's 144? 145?
And that was the one that was down low.
146?
With the scale.
147?
This was 2 doors down from where Zaevion was. There's a hole in that door. Defect.
You think 148?
And there it is up close, the same one in that door.
149?
This is the back side of that apartment complex. This is the porch next door, the apartment next door. And then this is 2 doors down. And there are defects up in here.
150?
This is directly next door, and it is right here, the defect.
151?
There it is up close, closer.
152?
There's one right here. This is the next apartment over. There's 2 windows above each porch. This one's here.
153?
There it is up close.
154?
That is in, I believe that's the gutter below there. Right below that window as well. There's another defect.
155?
That, I think there's a defect right here, is what we're looking at.
156?
And right there is another defect.
157?
This was closer up to that third apartment over, to that defect.
158?
This is just an overall shot of the back. You can see 4 apartments there, 1, 2, 3, or 3, I'm sorry, 3 apartments, and then Dobson was over here.
All right, now, so laser light, what exactly is the laser light?
So what we did to do flight path reconstruction, we can determine a general area of where the bullet came from that made the hole right there. That's the original one that I was talking about, it was right there. So what you're looking at here, it looks like I'm shining a laser on that, but I'm actually not. There's a rod stuck in that hole. The flight path reconstruction rod is basically a stick, fancy stick. This one had a adapter on the end, we can screw a laser on the end of it. So when you have a bullet hole and you put the stick in it, the stick will basically go at the angle that the bullet was shot at. If you have a laser at the end of it, the laser will shoot out and tell you where that bullet was fired from, an approximation of that. So that's what we did. We came out, this was actually dusk, I'm not sure why it's so dark, but we did it at dusk, and you'll see the pictures of the laser. But this shot right here is that stick with the laser attached, stuck in the hole that I had mentioned earlier, that I told you to pay attention to. That was that one.
And so 160.
So this is the other side of that, looking to where that laser shot. And this right here, you can see where that laser ends up. So that bullet was fired from somewhere in this area. And on a map, if you look at a map, this was just in front of that evidence marker 17 that I marked on the pavement, because you can see where this apartment is and this apartment is. It was number 17. It's going to be right in here somewhere.
161.
This is just another angle. That's standing closer on the porch. You can see the green line right there, still hitting the tip of that band.
162.
And this is a slow exposure photograph of that laser coming out of that hole. And you can see where that bullet, approximately where that bullet came from and where it hit.
So let me just clarify. We are looking from the position where the bullet hit, looking down, right?
Yes, yes.
You know, can I just, I didn't object to the photograph, but just for clarity's sake, we're not saying that these vans and these vehicles were there on the night in question.
Yeah, I'll let you do that across.
Okay.
I take it that the crime scene photos that we looked at before, if we were to look at those crime scene photos, then we would be able to tell where the person was standing at shooting.
Right, right. Obviously, the person wasn't standing on top of the van to shoot. You know, they were somewhere in the street. That's just where the laser ended up. You know, it had to stop somewhere. But we would estimate, based on the casings that were in that street, that this person shot approximately that location in the street.
And but the crime scene photo, the photos taken that night, if the van is in that photo, then the van was there. If the van was not in the photo, then the van wasn't there.
Correct.
Again, you took these photos on a different day.
Different day, yes.
These are your diagrams. All right. All right, so the evidence that you collected, you take it back to, I'm going back to the 17th now. So you and Ms. Vine, y'all are back at KPD, taking the evidence back to the property.
Yes.
What happens while y'all were finishing up that scene?
We were processing that evidence. We hear another shooting happening on the radio. We head out there to that shooting. It was in the Green Hills apartment complex. We got there about 2:38 a.m., still within my shift. So once we get there, there's an area, a large area that was cordoned off with crime scene tape. There were several officers searching the grass around where the crime scene was. In the crime scene tape, there was a black BMW vehicle that had crashed into the side of the building. So we pull in at the intersection, coming into Green Hills apartment. You come down the street, then there's a T intersection. We first searched that area, that technician Fine and I did. We found 2 shell casings there, 45 caliber casings. We marked those with evidence markers 1 and 2. Then, I I don't recall who found it. There was another casing that was found up in the grass where the officers were searching. Technician Fine marked that with evidence marker number 3. And then there were other casings found at the entrance of Green Hills. So we went up there and marked those. Those were 9mm casings, I believe. We marked those with evidence markers. I photographed all of those evidence markers. We approached the building. Like I said, there was a BMW that had driven into the side of the building. It was in the building. So I photographed the outside of that, and then I went to the apartment where the car had crashed into, photographed the inside of that apartment. The entire front end of the car was in the apartment. There was blood in the car, in the back seat, smeared all over the back seat, and then also in the front seat. The airbag had deployed. There was blood all over the airbag. Lots of blood in the car. The victim had already been removed by emergency services, so he was not there when I got there. I photographed all of that. Once we were done photographing, we also went up to an apartment that was right above that one. I remember it was 1405. We collected a 9mm PMC empty box for the PMC cartridge casings. We collected that, photographed it and collected it, and then also a 9mm cartridge casing was found in the apartment as well, the PMC. We also marked and collected that as well.
You said the box was a PMC box?
Yes.
And 9mm?
9mm PMC.
What types of 9mm casings did you collect in Lonsdale?
9mm PMC.
And what type of 9mm casings did you collect at Green Hills?
9mm PMC.
And the box you collected, was it empty or did it have any bullets in it?
It was empty.
And again, did you take photo? The apartment that the car crashed into, was there anyone present?
There was an elderly woman who had a walker, and she, by the time we got there, she was still trapped in the apartment. She couldn't get out. She couldn't get over the debris. It had smashed everything in her apartment, and she could not get out. So she was trapped in the back room until I think she was waiting on her son to get there, but she couldn't get out of her apartment.
Exhibits 157 and 162, is that what we looked at?
Yes.
With those in evidence, that's going to be the bullet strikes and the laser.
Yeah, objection.
No, Your Honor.
It'd be 157 to 162.
Now let's go to 163 through 217. If you want to take a look at those photographs and ask you to recognize those photographs. Yep. Yes. Exhibits 163 through 217 in his evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
No objection. The 163 through 217.
I'd like to publish those to the jury.
You may publish.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Exhibit 163, what are we looking at here?
This is the entrance to the Green Hills apartment complex. We are standing back at that intersection. I told you looking out at the entrance of Green Hills.
Exhibit 164.
This is basically turned 180 degrees. If you look in the dark, you can see the car in the building right here.
165.
This is looking back and out towards the entrance again. Evidence marker 4 was a 9mm PNC casing.
166.
It's again that 9mm PNC.
167.
And 5, 6, and I believe 7 and 8 right there as well. Also 9mm PNC casings right. That was the entrance of Green Hills.
168.
It's just up close with number 5, the 9mm casing.
169.
Same thing up close with number 6.
170.
So overall of 7 and 8.
171.
And again, up close with 7.
172.
And up close of 8. All of the 9mm PNC cases.
173.
This number one was right at that intersection where we were saying, and that was the 45 caliber casing right there.
174?
I think we get a little bit closer, the casing is right in there.
175?
Right there it is. I think the penny was actually already there. It had nothing to do with this, it just happens to be there, but the casing is right there.
176?
Number two, again, 45 caliber casing.
177?
Right there. That was in the middle of the intersection, or close to the middle.
178?
This is looking at apartment building A. Currently, view where the car was crashed is on this side. Right here is evidence marker number 3 in that field. And that was a 9mm.
What's 179?
This is looking back. Right here is the car that was crashed into the building.
180?
This is, we went into the apartment that the building was, or that the car was crashed into, and it was 1402.
181?
This is the destruction inside the apartment. You see the couch here. I think this is a TV stand, I'm not sure, a closet. The car is right in here.
182?
Again, you can see this the destruction in the apartment. It's just completely a mess.
183?
There's a better picture of the car, the bumper, headlight. This is a TV stand, I think. The siding of the house.
184?
Car, you can see straight back out in the street, another car there as well.
185?
And there it is, stuck in the side of the building. It had come up and crash right in there.
186?
So this is looking into the car. These right here are sweatshirts that were laying there when we got there. You can see there's blood in the car as well.
187?
It's just another angle of the car into the building.
188?
Another shot of those sweatshirts.
189?
This is the interior of the car. This is the back seat. You see blood all over here, in here. A lot of blood in there.
190?
It's the front seat. Again, more blood in here. This is the airbag that's deployed. And blood all over that. There's blood over here. Blood down in here. Essentially, it's everywhere in there.
191?
This is with the door shut. It's hard to see in that picture. There's blood right here. There's blood up on this mirror. There's just lots of blood. There's also a bullet.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's right there on that post. There was a bullet defect.
192?
It's more of an up close. And again, it's hard to see in this picture, but there's the hole, and then you can see the bullet inside the hole. Still lodged in there.
193?
You can see the copper from right there.
194?
This is another bullet defect in the rear of the car, right here.
195?
And there it is up close. Hole.
196?
And that's with the scale. It's right there.
197?
And there are those two sweatshirts marked with 9 and 10 evidence markers 9 and 10.
198?
Just up close with number 9.
199?
And number 10. They're both black hooded sweatshirts.
200?
This is another up close of the car, the front car door. Again, there's blood here, blood, blood.
201?
More blood, obviously here. Very much blood.
202?
This is the front post of the car. The front seat's right here. Front post. This was after they pulled it out of the building. I couldn't see this because this was inside the building. Once a tow truck pulled it out, I was able to see this defect here in the front post.
So how many defects did you find in the car?
A total of 3.
203?
This is when we went upstairs to the apartment. It was 1405.
204?
This is a shot of the kitchen area. Excuse me.
Sorry.
That's okay. No, it's the kitchen area.
205?
Inside that box was trash, and that's where we found the PMC casing. Or, I'm sorry, the empty PMC box.
206?
Yeah, that's it right there, for that empty PMC box.
207?
And again, you can see the actual box right there.
208?
That's This is the box, and this is the casing. The bullets go inside this little holder.
209,
This is just a shot down the hall in that same apartment.
210,
This is going back into a bedroom.
211,
It's an overall shot of the bedroom.
212,
And right here next to the bed, we found a casing
213,
right there. It's a 9mm PMC,
214,
which we marked with number 11 and confiscated.
215,
It's just an overall shot of another bedroom.
216,
And this is a door. I don't recall what this was a door to, but there is blood. What looks like a maybe handprint or fingerprints right here on that door.
217,
There they are. Like someone has swiped.
and I think there are some gloves. The first one with the exhibit cases. Exhibit 520, recognize exhibit 520?
You already used 520. You already used 520.
520 was the one.
Oh, that was the.
What's your next number?
Somebody, let me do 521.
You can make that one 521A.
Okay, thank you.
That's too confusing.
That would be perfect. Do 521A. 521A?
This is number 3, 9mm PMC casing, which was the one that was found in that grassy area.
And what type of, again?
9mm PMC.
PMC. Exhibit 521.
This is number 4. This was one of the ones found in the entrance area of greenhouse, 9mm Luger PMC.
Exhibit 522.
And it's marker number 5, also in the entrance area, 9mm Luger PMC.
I mean, these are all casings, right?
Casings, yes, I'm sorry, they're all casings.
Exhibit 523.
Number 6, 9mm Luger PMC casing, found up in the entrance.
Exhibit 524.
Also 9mm Luger PMC, found up in the entrance.
Exhibit 525.
Number 8, 9mm Luger PMC, found also in the street near the entrance casing.
Exhibit 526.
This was number 2. This was the .45 caliber Wolf casing that was found at that intersection once you come into the apartment complex.
And did you find any .45 caliber casings in Lonsdale?
No.
Exhibit 527.
This was evidence marker number 1. That's the first .45 caliber casing, also at that intersection.
Exhibit 528.
This was that bullet fragment that was difficult to see in the picture. We recovered it from the driver's door of the car. So this was actually a bullet fragment.
Exhibit 529.
This was evidence marker 11. This was the 9mm Luger cartridge casing that was found inside the apartment.
And where is that apartment at in relationship to where the vehicle crashed into the building?
It is right above it.
I'd like to move all of those in as evidence.
No good.
Very well, exhibit 521, 521A through 529.
What about exhibit 530?
This was the ammunition box that was found in that trash box that was in the kitchen of apartment 14 of 5.
If you don't mind to open that and tell us how many bullets are supposed to be in that box.
This is the box that was found. The 2 pieces that you saw photograph was this, which holds the bullets in it, and then the empty box. This particular case holds 50 cartridges.
Maybe that in is 530.
Hearing no objection to Exhibit 530.
Exhibit 514.
These were, I believe, this was one hoodie that was found. That was in one of the pictures.
If you don't mind to cut that open, please. We'd like to move that into evidence and ask for permission to publish that.
Any objection?
No objection.
Exhibit 514, you may sit down.
Black hoodie. Found at the scene.
If you don't mind, I'm going to ask you the same thing, Exhibit 513. Recognize Exhibit 513?
Yes.
What do you recognize Exhibit 513 to be?
This is the second black hoodie, also from the scene.
We'd like to move Exhibit 513 into evidence and publish that to the board.
Any objection?
No objection.
Hoodie, from the scene. This one, here's your blood. On the back of it.
And just so the jury knows, the evidence marker, is that listed on the bag for like 9 or 10?
Number 10.
Okay. That's what it's from.
All right, Mr. Rogers, you get to go first this time, cross-examination.
Michelle, can I ask you to pull up a few pictures for me? I just have a couple questions for you. About how long after the shooting did you arrive on the scene for the, the Baxter Avenue shooting? Not the Baxter Avenue, for Zaevion Dobson shooting.
It looks like it was dispatched at 10:12, and we arrived at 10:25.
Okay, so pretty soon.
Yeah.
Do you know if any other vehicles passed down that road where all of the shells were between the shooting and your arrival?
I can't speak to what happened before I got there, but I know emergency personnel was up there.
Okay. And so the lighting would be about the same from when you arrived. It was wintertime, correct?
Yes.
And at night?
Yes.
Okay. Can you pull up 127, I believe it is? 124, I'm sorry. Yeah, if we can have the lights. These photos you described as basically being kind of line of sight from the shell casings to the porch. And this would be around the same time of night, correct? That you took these photos, or were these photos taken at some other time?
I believe they were taken earlier in the evening.
Earlier in the evening?
Not that same evening.
Okay.
Earlier time.
An earlier time than the time of the shooting?
Yes.
So this is actually more light than would have been at the time of the shooting?
Yes. Now, these pictures, there's a different type of exposure on them. I believe I used a tripod on this with a long exposure. So these photos are not an indication of what the light was at that time.
Okay.
Because of the photos. But yeah, they were taken at a different time of day.
Okay, and you think they were earlier, actually?
I believe they were earlier.
And this would be, this 124, I think was, I'm sorry, I didn't write down the actual marker, but you took 3 of these photos,
yes.
Correct? From 17, I think, and it was 36 and
number 3. Yeah.
And number 3. Okay, can we see 125 also? And is that the house in the far distance, is that where the porch was?
This one here.
Right. Okay. And that would have been, I'm not sure if this might be from 36.
That's from 17.
That's from 17. Oh, it's up there. Okay. And can we see the next one? And can you, which house is the porch on?
Right here.
Okay. And that's from placard number 3.
Yes.
And the additional apartments that were next to that porch are actually around the corner of that building, is that right? The building that we're seeing on this left half of the picture is not the photograph where there were the bullet holes, or?
It is. The
Okay.
bullet holes were in this building here, and then actually that.
And in that vehicle.
And then this is where Zaevion Dobson was.
Okay. So this is the line of sight from the farthest?
Yes.
Okay, and then the 2 prior were as you got closer to the porch, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge.
All right. Mr. Jones, you can go next.
May I put one of the exhibits up on the board? Distance measures on it. So our jury sees this, and I want to make sure that I'm clear. When we looked at exhibits number 124, 125, number 126, those are the 3 that Mr. Rogers just showed you, right? They were in order, 36 being the shortest distance and proximity to where Mr. Dobson's body was found.
Correct.
Number 17 being the middle distance, and number 3 being the longest distance, correct?
Correct.
And actually, if we could see, I believe it's 126, would you mind? And I appreciate that. Thank you very much. We're doing right.
You can use this one.
I can't get my laser thing. The middle button. This, and I don't want to hit anybody in the eyeballs with it. This is the shot, right, back here, that if we look in, okay. Can we go to the photograph? If we could turn the light on, I think I can tell the exhibit number. I don't mean to stumble around. I believe it is 109, or it starts, I believe, at 107, maybe, and then 108, 109. And I may have a different, if we could look, General, thank you very much, at 107, 108, and 109. Okay, now that's a different one. Maybe that's the up-close vehicle, right? That's not the maroon van, right?
I think the black or the van.
I want the van. I'm sorry. Maybe it's 108. I'm off one. There we go. That van, you believe, is the one with the defect because you later took a up-close picture of the license plate, right?
Correct, yeah.
All right, and I wrote that down, that H8047R, right?
Yes.
So you would agree with me, those photographs kind of in order, so it tells us which van that is, right? If I could see the next photograph, number 109, and show me, you got one of the pointers too, can you show me where the defect is?
It is right here.
Okay, so this up here, that's something superfluous, right? That's not a shooting hole or anything, right? It looks like it's damaged up here. Right here?
Oh, yeah, well, I don't know how that happened, but
Right. But for bullet hole purposes, the bullet hole is right there, right?
correct. That's as far as I know, the only one we found on that van.
Okay. And we could go to 110, up close to the bullet hole,
Up close, yep.
right? 111. Well, sorry, I thought we had one of the door opened up on that van.
That's later.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That was a different,
A different, when you got called back out?
yes.
Okay, if we could go to that one, yes. That's that same van, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in proximity, that van is parked, if you will, amongst those cars, the farthest from Mr. Dobson's residence, right? Or what's not his residence, but where he was shot.
I believe, actually, that van was right in here. Right in here somewhere.
Okay. All right.
Because it was parked roughly in front of, somewhere in the neighborhood of where the other bullet defects were in that catty corner apartment building.
Good. Okay. And there's no way to match, well, we'll save that for somebody else. I'm sorry. I'm not going to ask you that. It's not fair. What your job was to collect all of this information, correct? And then form a chain of custody to then be turned over to other folks to do the testing, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and that'd be the TBI or Patricia Ressick, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you maintained all of this stuff in your exclusive possession until that time, or in the evidence custodial manner that the police department keeps it until that time and deliver it, right?
Correct.
Okay. I believe that's all I have. You're on my approach, I'll give you your point.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Lee, cross-examination.
Ms. Taylor, I believe you said there were 34 casings collected at Green Hills?
At Monster.
Monster, okay. And 23 were the Smith & Wesson?
You talking the 9mm? Which one of these?
Okay, you had 11 of, would you tell me? You had?
I had, well, there was,
This is that exhibit right there, behind you to your left, that what we're talking about.
what was the other one? But these are all, yeah, you can see how many, I'm sorry, yes, you can see 23 40 caliber casings and 11 9mm casings.
Right, and then the other exhibit where there was this one right here. There's 23 .40 caliber casings, okay,
Yes,
and 11 9mm.
Yes.
Okay, and this may be the same question Mr. Jones was going to ask you. Are you saying the 23 all came from the same gun, or just they were all .40 caliber casings?
this diagram, they were just all, it just shows that they were all .40 caliber cases.
Okay, so there could have been multiple guns?
Yes.
Okay, and the same with the 9mm casings, there could have been more than one gun?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
General redirect.
To be clear, I mean, that's why we submitted all of this to Patty Resi, for us to tell us how many 9mm guns and how many 40 caliber guns.
Correct. This diagram here, Patty told me which casings match which gun. So in this scene, there were 4 guns. The 9mm casings, according to Patty, from my understanding, all came from the same gun. And that's what that diagram shows there.
That's all.
That takes us back to Mr. Rogers. Anything else, Mr. Jones?
Relative to the round that's recovered out of the van, what exhibit number, because you went back, just so that we're clear on that, you preserved that and then turned that over to Patty Resick, right?
I turned it into evidence.
Okay.
Patty collects it from evidence.
Good enough. Thank you.
Ms. Lee. All right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Folks, that takes us to our mid-afternoon break. We're going to go ahead and take a recess. Please do not discuss this case among yourselves. You can leave notebooks and chairs. I'll see you in about 10 minutes.
Kind of let everybody know, look, I mean, at that point, things were manageable. Their loved one was at that time in good shape, and we wanted them to basically direct them to go to the hospital because the scene, there's not a whole lot that can be done. Kind of let the emergency personnel do their job, and we'll get you guys to the hospital so you can be with your family member.
And is that what you did with people that showed an interest in what was going on? Did you know any of these people at the time?
No, I didn't.
And even today, really don't. The names of anybody that you encountered that day?
No, sir.
And your, some events, I guess, what you did are captured on your cruiser video, is that correct?
Yes, sir, they should be.
And you've had occasion, I guess, to review a little bit of that before coming into court today?
Yes, I didn't review all of it, but some of it, yes.
That's fine. Yeah, I want to play a portion beginning at what's noted on here, 1931-43. Tell us what time that would be.
7:31 in the evening.
In the evening? Okay. And I'll start it, and then I'll move it to a full screen view, but just to give us a start time, is when I'm correct about that, 7:31-43?
Yes, sir.
If you need to explain something, tell me and I'll pause it.
Yes, sir.
Got two different hospital patients. We got, let's just see. I'll take that, and we got people around that. Let's go. I'm gonna put something. Okay, we're going to that. Okay. What are we gonna see with these folks around here? No, they just not. We need to find out what they're thinking. Where's the base at? Still in that way, still waiting on that. Where do you want me at? Where do you want to start at? I'm going to start with you. You go that way? I'm going to go that way. Let's see it. Like, where's the case? We have all the way up to
cause it to cut off is there a radio traffic channel that's simultaneously playing as well?
Yes, unfortunately, sometimes when we activate our emergency equipment, there's a mic that is actually in the car. And so we have a radio that's in the car, and so basically what you're picking up is the radio traffic from inside my car, from my mobile unit. I think that's where the background is coming from.
And if that, I'm going to attempt to switch that off, and will that give us a better audio?
It should, yes, sir, I think so.
All right. And can you tell us who those individuals are coming into view?
This looks like Investigator Leffler,
okay.
And that looks like our crime scene technician, I think Eddie Johnson.
Okay.
I don't know. But you can do it. I understand the setup. We're talking about here, Steve. Okay, listen to me. Apparently, buddy, without your shoes, okay? And apparently, your loved one was here. In the front. She's up talking, listen to me. She's up. Yeah. Listen to me. She's I understand. Look, I'm trying to get you calm down. She is doing very, very well. She is doing very well. Okay, listen. She's doing very well. Okay, do you want to walk up here and sit down? Up here, 64? I'm not she's She is alert with me. She's alert, right? 3, she's alert. She's talking. Okay? Listen, we got detectives and stuff down here, but we got a constant here that we have to protect for your record. Listen, I would never deprive you of that. I'm trying to put you in a more easy. That's where you guys need to go. Okay? Come on, Mama, listen to me. Look at Mama there getting ready to take her. Okay, I'm sorry. Hello? I'm sorry. Mama, please, do not. Hey, man, who is this? Is it Charles? Damn. It's who is
All right. Yes, sir.
At that time, I'd been told that one of the family members was a law enforcement officer, and we had an officer there that worked at the police department at that time that had a very similar name, so that's why I'm asking her if it was Charles, was if it was that officer. If it was, we could call him direct or see if he was working or something along those lines, so that's the reference to Charles.
Okay.
Can I talk to him? Everybody knows. What's your car?
I'll make a mine.
Okay. They had cars back there today with the new one. Why don't we get your car? Why don't you guys get one right together, get some park, you guys can go ahead and go on out to. May I show Hey, Blake, that guy's a UT officer, just go ahead and hold him right there. No, honey, I'm just going to get the purse. Honey, I don't want to search your car. I don't want to get your purse. Oh my God. Thank you.
I'm returning at this point from moving the one young lady's car. And as I was walking here, I noticed that there were two people that were running into the crime scene, running up toward us. Of course, that's a really a failure on my part. I should have made sure there was somebody that actually was down there full time, but they got in. These two gentlemen got through on the opposite end of the crime scene. So that's the two gentlemen that you see running up, right?
And I did want to ask you about, the audio kind of cuts out every now and then. What causes that, if you tell us?
Well, a combination of things. Distance from the car. Now this is an older system. We have newer mics now, but distance from the car, and also as far as the life of the battery. If we've had a busy night and you haven't been charging all good, you could possibly lose power on the belt mic, and it has to go back in the cradle to be recharged.
You mentioned the two individuals running into the crime scene. What do you recall about those individuals?
They were young men. They were obviously upset. I got the impression that it was obviously family that the victim was obviously family. But initially, my initial response was, well, what are they doing there in the crime scene? So I spoke to, I believe that's Officer Blake Trailer. And come to find out, I don't think that we had security on the far end of that crime scene is what ultimately happened.
And we'll pick back up, I guess, where these two men, have you noticed these two men in the crime scene?
Yes, sir.
Hey man, get your keys. Listen, I should have been in that driveway right when I bought your car. And it's fine, it's all over, it's in the driveway right there, okay? They're gonna be
Now, do you recognize or remember having seen this individual or where he came from?
Well, that young man, and there's a young man over here that has a stripe running down his pant and leg. Those are the two young men, as I recall, that had come running up through the crime scene.
And the young man that's closest to the camera, can you tell us what he's doing, or can you tell?
I believe that he was grabbing a phone, making a phone call or answering the phone. The other young man stayed down there for the entire time, as I recall, just when we were giving instruction and kind of directing, trying to get everybody together and say, hey, look, let's turn our focus on getting to the hospital. And this young man walked away, and then I think that he comes back here in just a moment, but I think shortly thereafter they walk up. You know where your car is? Right here. Okay. All right. This is right over there. Okay, you got it. Okay. It's going to be just fine. Okay, you know where you're going? You guys know where you're going? Yes, we'll go to UT. Yeah, I'm not watching the band do it. From what we've been told, that's what happened. Okay, so do not die. Something along those lines. That's the preliminary one. Okay, well, I just want to see where you're from. Yes, ma'am. We'll get that taken care of. But I tell you what, she's on her way to get there. They're taking it out right now. Well, I tell you what, I'll make absolutely sure that we do that.
Now, were you able to hear any of that last little bit of conversation between that young man and anybody else?
As far as anything that I could say that I knew what they were talking about, no, just impressions. Was very, very upset. I didn't recall that, but when I saw the video, I think a couple of his family members kind of smacked at him, trying to calm him down. But that's what I remember. I don't believe he was hostile or anything with me.
Okay.
I just him and the other gentleman. Now I did have him escorted through the crime scene by an officer so they could get back down to their car. Again, I don't know who they are. I don't know what their names are or anything. I didn't get that.
All right. Forget the lights back there. Now we move in as exhibit 454, the portion that we played out of that previous video.
Okay, now exhibit 454.
454.
When we get ready to close, we get to keep it. Get it out here, put it in here. Yeah, just make it like this. Sure. Thank you.
Cross it down.
Mr. Jones, you get to go first, sir.
Bear with me, I'm just
Take
writing
your
this down.
time.
Lieutenant Taylor,
Yes, sir.
you indicated that you were the patrol lieutenant for the West Sector, correct?
Currently, sir, at that time I was East District.
You were the East District. Okay, that's fine. And for KPD's purposes,
Yes, sir.
okay, what delineates East from West?
Really, actually, just geography. I-75 is probably a good I-75, and parts of Henley and so forth kind of separate both our districts now into west of 75 is the West District and east of 75 is the East District.
And going from town, where it splits off in 40, that area is called 275, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so west of 275 for KPD's purposes is the West Sector,
Yes, sir.
and east of 275 is the East Sector.
Yes, sir.
And as of, I believe this was December 17th, 2015, you would have been the lieutenant in charge that night
Yes, sir.
of the East Sector. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Okay. And as the lieutenant in charge, you indicated that any time that there was a major crime event, I believe, that you would respond to that. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I don't believe I had a sergeant that night.
Okay.
Because I think I only had one, Sergeant Sanders.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty normal.
Okay, I understand. So you were going and responsible for everything on the east side of town?
At that hour until my shift came out, yes, sir.
Okay. What time had you come on?
I think our hours at that time were 4, I think we worked 4 to 2 in the morning.
Okay.
I think somewhere around those.
And so if we're watching these videos or we're listening to 911 calls, 4 o'clock in the afternoon is 1600 hours, right?
Yes, sir.
So like when we see something on a video, if we see 1600, it's 4 o'clock, 1700, 5 o'clock, and so forth, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So were you, as the East Sector Lieutenant, aware of an incident that had occurred earlier in the night over on Virginia Avenue?
I was not.
Okay. When you got this call and you arrived on the scene, the video that we just saw, that's looking out the front of your police vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
So as you drive up, we're seeing effectively from just a little bit of a different position, but what you see through the windshield of your vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the, if you will, time ticker, that tells us roughly the time. I get it could be a second off or whatever from, you know, the true time that it is, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you arrived there, who was in charge of the scene prior to you getting there?
You know, I would probably have to say that Officer Jimmy Wilson, as I recall, would have been the most senior person there as far as time. but I don't recall anybody else of any rank, supervisory, being there.
Would he have been a PO4, or what would he have been?
I think Jimmy was probably a PO3 at the time.
Okay. Who would have been responsible for maintaining the crime scene log on a major shooting like this?
Normally, it's one of the initial responding patrol officers that we designate that duty, or if we have extra personnel, we'll say, if we got somebody that's doing something else, we'll pull somebody over there for that direct purpose to do a crime scene log. And we also have some canvas logs and things of that nature that we usually delegate that out to.
You explained to Mr. Morton the importance of cordoning off the scene, and I saw in the video there was a gentleman stretching the yellow tape around there, and that is to keep basically unknown ingress and egress so the scene's not contaminated, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's very important.
Yes, sir, it is.
And this crime scene log, that's for what purpose?
It's so that when I say we, the police, our investigators can go back and say who was in that scene and who wasn't in that scene. So they've got a running list of these are firefighters, these are paramedics, these are police officers, so forth and so on.
So I didn't mean to interrupt, sir. No, you're doing a good job.
Even if, for instance, we get there and there's a civilian in there, we're supposed to log anybody that's been in that crime scene and put it down there and obtain whatever information we can, like a phone number or an address or something like that.
So not only would it be KPD personnel, but if, not necessarily in this case, but if it was another case in where multiple agencies were involved, Knox County Sheriff's Department was there, somebody should have a log of everybody that came into that scene and left that scene, correct?
Yes, sir, you should.
Also important relative to those logs is noting your time in and your time out, correct?
Correct.
So that way, if something happened at, say, 1806 hours, and you've got a log, and you know that Officer Smith, for instance, departed that at 1804, you knew he wouldn't have been there, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're supposed to keep, is that part of the SOP, that's standard operating procedure?
Yes, sir. I couldn't tell you what, but it's either a general order or an SOP. It's one of the two.
Okay, general orders and SOPs, and I'm not splitting hairs here, but those are the standard policies and procedures of the Knoxville Police Department, correct?
Yes, they are.
And they are standard for good police work, correct?
Yes, they are.
And you would consider Knoxville Police Department an excellent law enforcement agency, right?
Yes, sir.
And you would expect that on any major crime scene, such as a shooting,
yes, sir,
that they would maintain a log of ingress and egress with times that anybody came in or left, right?
In a perfect world, yes, sir.
I did. Sometimes it's not perfect. And in this case, when we're talking about this scene, 238 Dallas Street, just for the jury's orientation, that was the scene in which Brandon Perry's mother, Linda Perry, that's where she got shot, correct?
If you say so, I don't know the victim's name.
Okay.
I don't know who.
Do you know it's the woman that got shot in the buttocks?
Yes, there was a woman that got shot, yes, sir.
In the buttocks?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. And I mean, we can figure that out. I don't think there's much dispute about that part with regards to it. In the address on the house that we're seeing the yellow tape go out and around, that's 934 Virginia Avenue, correct?
No, sir. On this address over here?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That would have been Dallas.
I know. See, I got all these notes here, and I'm wrong. I wasn't trying to trick you. I'm just wrong. I'm wrong. It was Dallas Street, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the yellow tape's going around Dallas Street. I guess I had Virginia on my mind, and I apologize. Now, can we look at the video? You talked about, let me preface this, and the point that I'm going to want to go to, General, on the video is 1942-40. So that would be 742.
Okay, yes, sir.
Right? I mean, just make sure that I'm right, in 40 seconds. And you said that, and I'm not throwing stones at you. Look, y'all are doing the best you can. I'm not beating on you. You said that there wasn't anybody securing the other end of the scene, and these two young men came from the other end, right?
Yes, sir. They appear to have.
Okay. And you knew that as the officer in charge, you needed to address that situation.
Yes, it was absolutely my fault. I'm the scene commander. Everything falls on me. It's my dereliction.
Lieutenant, I'm not throwing any stones at you about it. I'm truly not, and it doesn't make a difference with the point that I'm going to get to. So I'm not, please don't beat yourself up. I'm not trying to, and I'm not trying to pick at you about that. So if we could go to that 1942, 40, where we see these young men come into play, and as they start come walking up, and especially this one clip was played in an opening statement. I want to make sure we know who this is, as far as you may not know personally. If we could pause this right now, okay? That gentleman right there, you don't know who that is as we sit here today, do we?
I have no idea.
Okay, that's fine. And if I could point out, see this thing around his head?
Yes, sir.
What is that generally in parlance called? I mean, like, you know, I wear them too occasionally.
A hoodie.
A hoodie, right? And what color is that hoodie?
It's dark.
Okay. It looks black to me. I don't know if it's black or if it's not black, right? Okay, so we know that this man, at least at 1740-42, had a black hoodie on, right?
Right.
Okay, if we could continue to play a little bit. The man right here, it may be just a little bit back, that's the other black man. You said he had a white stripe on his pants?
Yes, he had some kind of looked like possibly a reflective stripe on his pants.
Right there. Is that him? I mean,
if that's whoever, well, that guy looks like he's got a tannish colored jacket on. Is he standing behind him?
No, this guy right here. If we could back up just a touch, and I'm sorry. Thank you, General, for being so kind. See him right here?
Yes.
Is that the other fella?
Yes, sir.
What does it appear that other man's wearing?
Some type of a shirt. I don't know. I didn't appear to be a hoodie there, or at least he didn't have a hood on.
It's dark though, right?
It's a dark color shirt, yes.
All right, and at least from this distance, if he had the hood part down, you can't necessarily discern whether or not he had a sweatshirt on, a black long sleeve shirt, or a hoodie, can you?
I couldn't.
Okay. I believe that's all I have for the video. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Morton. Oh, I meant, I'm not done question. I meant with the video.
You don't want to read more?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. And the gentleman that entered, you described earlier, the scene, authorized to be there, is this fine investigator here, Investigator Leffler,
yes,
correct? May I approach and show you a document? You may have never seen this, or you may have, okay? And this was furnished to me by the state, so I don't think it's any... May I approach? Thank you. Let me show you this document and see, and it's okay if you've not seen it. Have you ever seen this document?
I have not.
Okay. And do you know, and again, it's okay if you know, whose handwriting it is?
I couldn't tell you, sir.
Okay. The number up here at the top, you may not know exactly what that number sequence goes to. What, do you recognize that sort of way of, if you will, organizing things?
Yes, this would be, this is a case number. This is how our case numbers are generated. If an officer gets out on a call, they're going to do a report or a field interview card or something like that. When they ask for any time and number, this would be what they would be given.
And the number that we're pointing to, albeit I'm going to mark this for ID only because you don't know it, and just for the record, so we don't have any confusion about it, is 15 -048-932. Is that correct, officer? Lieutenant, I'm sorry, I wasn't meaning to be demeaning. And then this document also says 238 Dallas shooting, victim Lisa Perry, copy of crime scene log, correct?
Yes.
Do you see, and do you have, as an officer with the Knoxville Police Department, an ID number or something that designates you being Lieutenant Taylor?
I do. If it's not mine would be 1540.
Okay.
So we have a 4-digit number that accompanies our name.
Right. So this number here, 731, is that a timestamp?
I would assume, based on all of these, because, for instance, like AJ and I, we came on together, so we're 1500, so what's the time?
Okay, so these are times, at least as far as you can surmise, not necessarily badge numbers in there, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that Lieutenant Taylor, are there any other Lieutenant Taylors at the Knoxville Police Department?
No, sir.
To your knowledge, on or about December 17th, 2015, was there anybody else with KPD named Taylor at that Dallas scene?
No, not that I'm aware of.
I'd ask that we have Ms. Muffler mark this for ID only, and I'll address it with someone else.
We have any idea what number we are?
We'll just start with 700 on this one, Your Honor. I believe she's in like the 5s, and I'll start mine in the 7s.
Let's go with 6. I'm an optimist. Make that exhibit 600 for ID only. That, when we say ID only, folks, that means it's not in the evidence, but we're just remembering we said what he talked about was exhibit 600.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you very much. And we're marking that for ID only. Doesn't get to go to. Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate you.
All right, Ms. Lee, questions?
Sir, how many times have you viewed that cruiser video?
Other than today?
Yes.
I viewed it on the 27th of November in the office of Mr. Morton and Ms. Fitzgerald.
Is it 2017?
Yes, ma'am, it was just this year.
So that's just one time prior to today?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And you don't have any idea who the identity of the 2 men that came?
No, ma'am, no.
Okay, that's all I have now.
Mr. Rogers? No questions. Thank you. General, will be direct. Anything else, Mr. Jones?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lieutenant. You may step down. Attorneys, please approach.
Officer Traylor?
I want to say I want to talk about that.
Oh. Yes.
All right, folks, I think we have time for one more witness, and we'll hear one more today. We'll go ahead and call our next witness.
Officer Traylor? Take you wouldn't stand up there, sir.
Please raise your right hand. Do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in the case now on trial be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
Please have a seat, sir.
What's your name, sir?
Officer Traylor with the Knoxville Police Department.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Traylor.
How long have you been with the Knoxville Police Department?
Roughly 3.5 years.
What do you do with the Knoxville Police Department?
I'm a patrol officer.
Sir, were you so employed back on December 17, 2015?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Back on that date, what area of town did you patrol?
East Knoxville?
Would that include the Dallas Street area?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Explain to us where Dallas Street is located.
Roughly off MLK near Asheville Highway.
Is that in the Burlington community?
Roughly, yes, ma'am.
Did you have occasion to respond to a shots fired call there?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
You could tell us about getting that call and what you did as a result of it.
Yes, ma'am, I responded to the call on December 17, 2015. Upon arrival, I walked in with Officer Jimmy Wilson. We found the victim in, I believe, a back bathroom that had been shot. Fire department came in, started administering what they needed to do, I backed out and started talking to the daughter.
After speaking with the daughters, what did you then do?
At that point, my lieutenant wanted me to come outside to help with crowd control.
And did you do that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Tell us about assisting with crowd control. What did you do when you got outside?
I started talking to multiple people. The grandmother of the victim actually showed up. I talked to her for quite some time.
After speaking with her, what happened?
At that point, I tried to keep everybody back out of the scene.
Were there people trying to get into the scene?
Yes, ma'am, there was.
Now, your cruiser, is it equipped with the in-car video?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And, sir, directing your attention here to Exhibit 473. Do you recognize, is it okay for us to sit down?
You may sit down.
Do you see here on Exhibit 473 where your vehicle was parked?
Yes, ma'am. I should have been facing east on Porter at the corner of Dallas and Porter. My car would have been here, facing east.
I'm going to walk around here to make sure everybody can see it. If you could, if you can point again, let the jury know where's your vehicle pointing.
Right here at the corner of Porter, Dallas. I've been facing eastbound, facing this way.
And so your camera, would it catch, I guess, around in there and right there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it would have been focused on this intersection right here.
So anyone that walked past your video, that would be caught.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Let's start your video. What time?
1939.
At 1939, please. I was going to say, and from watching, looking at the wall, do you recognize this as being a shot from your in-car video?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And you see, what is the current time?
Looks to be 7:19 p.m. Or, I'm sorry, the current time on that is 7:39 p.m.
Thank you. All right. We want to mute And did you see the vehicle that just pulled up?
I do on the video, yes, ma'am.
At the time, did you notice that? Now this vehicle here, do you recall who this vehicle, this person belongs to?
That would be an investigator, but no, ma'am, I do not recall who that would be at that time.
But it's the KPD investigator?
Yes, ma'am.
And how can you tell that?
That's the vehicles that they use, and it also has markings as lights.
Somebody's in our house. Yes, ma'am, yeah. Right now, what it looks like is.
I need to know if you're right. You're right. You call me. Where did you get shot at?
We're out.
Where are you going? You see him got bad. That's my sister.
Hang on a second. No, come on, hang on. Hey man, how did you get in there?
What the fuck is that?
She's in the house. So that's what. I understand that, but we don't want anybody to come to you.
Call the yourself, and you see this individual here in the street?
No, ma'am, I do not recall him.
No.
Oh, yes, ma'am, I
See
do
it now.
video, yes.
And what do you notice about the clothing that he's wearing?
Looks like black pants, black hood pulled up over his head, black tennis shoes with white socks.
Okay.
Let's sit right now on time. But in all honesty, you can cigarette.
And what about this individual? I know you didn't see him at the time, but looking at this video now.
Looks like a black hoodie, white undershirt, black Adidas pants with white stripes and white tennis shoes.
I need to know what happened.
And those three individuals, can you tell us where are they walking towards?
They would be walking towards the crime scene, the actual house on Dallas.
Just like that, Mom's job. I get there. He's coming out of the water to go to. I'm on this side. I'm not going nowhere. There's the guy. Can I get here? I'll come here. Give me a second. I'll come right here. I'm Escort them down, back down to the quick. Hey, sir. Hey, buddy. It's the car down here. Yeah. Listen, Officer Taylor's here. Hey, come on, Al.
And do you recall, were you escorting somebody? Do you recall if you don't?
Yeah, I do not recall at this time.
Hey, man, come on. Now, he just came out the house. Yeah, he's not supposed to be in the house.
And again, directing your attention to the wall, do you notice this individual in the street now?
Yes, ma'am, that was one of the subjects that came out of the vehicle.
He lives there. He just came out there. He was in front of the car. Come back here. Where'd you got the car at? Right there. Look, there's my sister. She's on my here. I just got they're bringing her right out. Just stand back here with everybody else, okay? Where's your car at? Right here, let's go. We're going over there. Okay? Hey, man, come on. Tell us something else. Hey, man, you got it this far over here? I think she's in the house. Oh, no, you were the little girl? Yeah. She went out over there with all the rest of the family members. I didn't think she was going to hang out of that. the second heard you say you're gonna go, are you in the car with these other guys over here? You're over the car right now. Okay, yeah. If you still go to the hospital like everybody else, then just take them to UT, okay?
And, is that you, Todd? Do you know who that is? Which officer that is speaking to the individual who said he was in the black car?
It sounded like me, but I don't recall exactly who I was talking to, as there were probably at least 10, 15 plus people out there that I was talking to.
Yes, sir. And so now after you finish talking to the guy who said he was in the black vehicle, this is the person you see arrive in the view of the video?
Yes, ma'am, I would believe so.
Yep. Play.
I've never seen people bring their property in my life.
And what do you see that black vehicle do now?
No, ma'am.
She said, what do you see it doing?
Oh, backing up.
What time did we stop? Yeah, we're gonna play 20 more seconds. So for the record, we're stopping it at 7:45 and 54 milliseconds. Seconds, I guess. Sir, if you could, on this, we'd like to move that clip is exhibit 456.
Any objection?
No objection.
No objection. 456.
Sir, if you don't mind. Using this black marker, if you can draw on the diagram the direction that your vehicle is going. And just write in the photos. That location is here in Knox County?
Yes, ma'am.
Pass it.
Right, Mr. Lee, you get to cross-examine first this time.
Officer, how many times have you viewed that video?
In full length like that?
Yes.
That was my first time.
The first time you saw it?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Ms. Rogers, I have any questions? Mr. Jones?
I do, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I said I do. I'm sorry, I was writing that
misunderstood you.
down.
Go
I
ahead.
apologize. Officer Traylor, you responded to the shots fired call then at the address of 238 Dallas Street, correct?
Yes, sir, I believe that's correct.
Do you recall the temperature on that night?
No, sir, I do not.
Is it fair to say, after viewing this video, you could see a number of people out there that had on what we would consider to be outer garments, coats, clothes, folks with their hoods up, things of that nature?
Yes, sir, it would be.
Based upon your experience as a police officer, would that indicate to you that it was cooler?
Yes, sir, it would.
Okay. And relative to your response, you said you were one of the first officers to get there with Officer Jimmy Wilson. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Were you in two separate cars?
Yes, sir, it would.
Did Officer Wilson arrive first or did you arrive first?
He did.
Were ambulatory personnel, ambulance folks, rural metro, were they already on the scene?
The fire truck, I believe, was about 2 blocks back. As you can see in the video, I passed him on Dallas.
Right.
Yes.
Do you know what other officers, if you will, if any, got to the scene before you and Officer Wilson?
Not that I recall, I don't have any.
Okay. Do you know who, when you initially got to the scene, either you or Officer Wilson, began constructing the crime scene log?
I head, no, sir.
Have you ever personally, not just in this case, but in any case during your tenure at the Knoxville Police Department, constructed a crime scene log?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. What is the purpose of that?
Usually documents date, time, and when people arrive, such as times of officer arrival, times of ambulance arrival, firefighters, stuff like that.
Right. Does it also note when they departed?
It's supposed to, yes, sir. But
Okay.
it can get very chaotic, so.
Is that I understand. You guys work like champions. I have no issue with regards to that. Is it fair to say that that's part of the general orders or standard operating procedure of the Knoxville Police Department?
I would believe so, yes, sir.
And the Knoxville Police Department always aspires for excellence, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you a document that we've marked as exhibit number 600. Your Honor, may I approach? And I have had marked for ID only, which means it's not being shown to the jury. Okay? And let me ask you, Officer Traylor, if you recognize that handwriting or that document.
Yes, sir. That looks about like mine.
Okay. So is it fair to say then that you are the author of this document?
Yes, sir, I would say.
Okay. And I see there is an officer listed at 7:20. And I'm assuming that's a time. Is that right?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Okay. And listed as Jay Wilson. Would that be the Jimmy Wilson that you've referred to?
Yes, sir, it is.
And the next officer, it's a P, is it Simmer?
P. Simon.
Simon, yes, sir. And what is Mr. Simmer, Officer Simer's first name?
Eric, I would believe.
Okay. Is that a P or an E?
That's a P. It's, his last name's Hoffman, and it's P and then a...
Okay.
P.
I'm sorry.
Simon.
I got you. And that's just my confusion. Okay. And then that's you then, Officer Traylor.
Yes, sir, it is.
And then Officer...
Chelsea Wright.
Chelsea Wright. Engine 6.
Fire department.
Fire department. Then Schaefer. Is that right?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Do you know which Schaefer that would be?
It's not the same as the other one.
And he's noted at getting there at 7:28. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that's what it says.
So 8 minutes after you responded to the scene, the first supervisor arrived at the scene, correct?
That's what the log says. I couldn't give you an exact amount.
I'm not trying to pin you down on that.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not trying to do that. But relatively speaking, it of course goes in hierarchy from patrolman, sergeant, lieutenant, correct?
Depending on where they're at, yes.
Okay. And then we see listed this Sergeant Hill, and then we have at 7:31, approximately 3 minutes later, and we've already heard from him, Lieutenant Taylor,
Yes,
correct?
Sir. Yes, sir, that'd be correct.
Okay. And on this log, and again, I'm not throwing stones at you, there is no egress, that is when folks listed left on the log, right?
Yes, sir, yeah.
And in general, that's supposed to be there, right?
I would get, I've never actually put exit times, but.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're comfortable that you prepared this in the course and scope of your duties as a Knoxville Police Department officer?
Yes, sir, yeah.
I'd ask that we strike the ID from it, and that we will be permitted to publish that to the jury, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
It's the... No objection. All right, it'll be exhibit 600. You may publish later if you want to.
Bear with me, I've just got to do just a little bit more.
Take your time.
Officer Traylor, when you arrived at the scene, you realized that this is a person that had been shot, right?
Yes, sir.
When you receive a notification from dispatch, it gives you a rough idea of what's going on, correct?
Very rough, yes, sir.
It's for your safety as much as possible,
Yes.
correct? So you don't walk into an active shooter situation or something of that nature, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you knew that you had one person down, is that right?
Dispatch, as far as I can remember, dispatch said shots fired, so we didn't know if somebody had actually been hit or what the deal was before we arrived.
Okay, when you produced that document and it's in handwriting like that, that's all in your handwriting, right?
Yes, sir, that is.
Okay, and that, if you will, information that's on the top of that document, where it says 238 Dallas shooting, victim Lisa Perry, copy of crime scene log. Is that reconstructed from your rough notes?
Of the top is not, no, sir.
Okay. When did the top get made?
I have no idea.
Okay, so did somebody take and put two documents together?
I couldn't answer you on that. This is what I did. I didn't type that out, obviously.
Okay, so you just did the bottom part. When you do that crime scene log, then, do you have and I may have watched too much TV, okay? Like a spiral notebook, you flip, I'm not being smart aleck you, I'm just asking. And you write it down. And so would it be fair to say then those are the pages from that? Or do you know? If you don't know, it's okay.
I believe Jimmy Wilson gave me that copy that night. Usually I just use a small notebook that I have in my pocket.
Okay. So in any event, then it gets transferred into this form with something put on the top of it, right?
I usually just give it to an investigator, and whatever they do from there is what they do.
Okay. In your experience at the Knoxville Police Department, should we expect to find, always striving for excellence, those type documents with regards to every major crime scene, or at least the vast majority?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And major crimes, you would agree with me, if it's a murder, that's a major crime.
Yes, sir.
If it's a shooting where somebody gets hit, it's a major crime, correct?
Yes, sir.
If it's an attempted murder, if somebody shoots at somebody and misses them, that's a major crime, right?
Yes, sir.
In your experience as a trained law enforcement officer with 3.5 years experience with the Knoxville Police Department, you're aware that those are felonies, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, if I could have the general assist me one more time, could we go to 1941-04, please, sir? Thank you.
Too far, went on with that.
Thank you for doing this, by the way.
Right now, I'm counting. But in all honesty, you're not going to figure it out.
Can we stop? That's a gentleman with like a reflective stripe down his pants, and he's wearing a hoodie with the hood up, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's at 1941-14, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we could go.
Okay, they don't know. We don't know. He said, just like that, what happened. Mama shot. I did that.
If we could go back just to like 1940, like 1940, where we get the other black hoodie.
And then how'd you get in there? Where's that? She's in the house. We're not the water. I understand that, but we don't want anybody to come to. Okay.
Okay, if we could stop. See this gentleman right here? The one I'm doing my thing with?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm hitting him with a laser pointer. He's wearing a black hoodie too, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you will agree with me, and I apologize, I wasn't sure if the striped pants came first or the other guy, but that guy is walking through the intersection we now know before the other guy, correct? With the striped pants.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, they both have on black hoodies.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you see he's got white socks on.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and let me ask you, is the crime scene this direction or is it this direction?
It's to the left.
Okay, so to the left over here where I'm doing this right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this is an automobile that the general asked you about earlier, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what type of automobile is that?
Looks like a black BMW.
Okay, thank you. If we could play just a little bit more and we could go to, it's 1943 and change where the gentleman moves the, well, let me just ask you. You realize that these two gentlemen are not the same guy in the gray shirt that came back and moved this BMW, right?
I would say so, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure so that there wasn't any confusion to the jury. You as a trained law enforcement officer, you're not saying the guy in the gray shirt was one of these two fellas, right?
I would have to go back and rewind and watch it entirely to tell you yes or no on that. But
Okay. Do you feel pretty comfortable though with what you said initially? I mean, we'll watch it if we need to.
yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'm good with that. Thank you. I appreciate you, officer.
Please, that takes us back to Procedural. Redirect.
No, sir.
All right, Ms. Lee, any recross?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Rogers? All right, thank you very much, officer. You may step down here, free to go. All right, folks, it is now 5 o'clock, so this is a good time to adjourn for the evening. I'm going to send you home with the same instructions I've given you every other night. So do not assess this case with anyone. Do not watch local news. Avoid any media contact that could potentially expose you to this case. Tomorrow, I've pretty much successfully gotten everything else off my docket, so we'll start right at 9 o'clock. So remember, it takes a while to get through security, so give yourself enough time to do that in the morning. And if you have any difficulties, please call us and let us know you're going to be late, all right, so we know what happened. But please leave yourself plenty of time. The weather should clear up this evening, so I don't think you have any difficulty with that. Once again, do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't watch anything on the media. Don't talk to anybody at all about this case. Avoid social media as well, too. Again, I will ask you first thing in the morning if you're exposed to anything, if anybody said anything to you. So if something were to happen, you stop watching, listening to it immediately, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. I'm going to have you take notebooks with you. We're going to keep them locked up overnight for you in the jury room. So I'll see you 10 till 9 tomorrow. Have a good night, folks. Go to officers. All right, everyone, be seated. All right, are there any issues from the state before we adjourn?
No,
Mr. Evans, any issues?
No issues, thank you.
Ms. Lee?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Rogers? All right, folks, I don't have anything else on the docket tomorrow except for this, so court will be open by 8:40 tomorrow, so come in and get set up, and we'll start right at 9 o'clock. Court stands adjourned until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.